2021 Zoning Board of Appeals meeting. In accordance with Governor Baker's emergency order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20, tonight's Zoning Board of Appeals meeting will be conducted remotely to avoid group congregation. The time is now 7:06 p.m., and I, Timothy Martin, call the meeting to order. Public access to this meeting is available by utilizing Zoom virtual meeting software. This meeting is being recorded for future broadcast by Norfolk Community Television. I would like to remind all participants to remain muted unless you are called on, and that if you need to be recognized, please utilize the raise hand function at the bottom of your Zoom display. At this time, I'd like to ask Stephanie to conduct a roll call for attendance.
Thank you, Tim. Tim Martin.
Present.
Joe Sebastiano.
Present.
Josie Kordahi.
Present.
And David Axberg.
He's muted.
I am present.
Thank you, David. We have 4 members present, and Rich McCarthy and myself are here as staff.
Before we open up the first, we have on the agenda this evening, we have 3 public hearings scheduled. I just want to make an announcement. There's one hearing for 7:30 relative to 23 Turner Street. It was a variance request. The applicant has submitted a withdrawal of that petition, of that application. So I just want to let the folks know that anyone who's here for that meeting, there won't be any substantive vote on that or discussion. It'll just be a vote to accept the withdrawal. So if you're here for that, you're welcome to stick around, but we won't be having any substantive conversation about 23 Turner Street. Thank you. At this time, I'd like to begin our public hearing portion of the agenda. I ask that Mr. Sebastiano open the public hearing for 4 Oak Road.
Yep. All right, notice is hereby given in accordance with Chapter 48 of the Massachusetts General Laws and all amendments thereto, and in accordance with the governor's order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20, relating to the 2020 coronavirus emergency, that a public hearing will be held by the Zoning Board of Appeals on May 5th, 2021. The meeting shall be physically closed to the public to avoid group congregation. Public access to the meeting shall be made utilizing the Zoom virtual meeting platform software. The hearing is for Kevin Mackin, 857 Beacon Street, LLC, at 7 p.m. for a special permit pursuant to Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 48, Section 9, as amended, and Section F4B of the Norfolk zoning bylaws to allow the demolition and reconstruction of a new modular home and decks in the same footprint, which does violate the 25-foot setback of Section E1B, but does not violate those requirements to a greater extent than the original structure. The property is located at 4 Oak Road, Norfolk, Mass. Assessors Map 12, Block 62, Lot 94, in the R3 zoning district.
Thank you, Joe. If the applicant, Mr. Mackin, is available, we'd love to hear from him at this time.
It doesn't look like Mr. Mackin is connected via audio. I'm just going to very quickly put up a phone number on the screen in case Mr. Mackin would like to call in. The call-in number is here, 929-205-6099, and that will allow you to join by audio so that you can contribute to the meeting.
All right, let's give him an opportunity to dial in.
Mr. Mackin, are you able to hear us by audio? Okay, so it looks like Mr. Mackin is unable to hear us at the moment. I'm gonna just very quickly type up some instructions and put them on the screen that we're sharing now.
Can everybody read those instructions? 'Cause on mine, it's blocked off by the video on my screen.
I can see it.
Yeah, I can see it.
I just see the agenda.
It's on the right-hand side on my screen, but I also see the video.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I can see it.
Okay.
Right.
Mr. Mackin, are you available? Can you hear us now?
Yes, yes,
Wonderful.
thank you very much.
Great.
No problem.
Welcome.
Thank you. Would you like me to start with the presentation? I'm
Wait, yes,
sorry, I
please.
may have missed. Thank you. So I have a single-family house at 4 Oak. The structure itself is about 950 square feet in a state of disrepair. I'm looking to raise the structure and put in a 2-story modular home that will have 2 bedrooms and a 1.5 car garage. So on the site itself, I'm going to maintain the septic system. I had a hearing before the Board of Health, and they approved it pending the requirement that we replace an existing tank and we get a inspection acceptable to them. And I've sent the paperwork to the Board of Health for the purpose. The property itself has a setback that's 17 feet, 9 inches on the front. My proposed structure would make it 18 feet, so a slight improvement. The rear is 15 feet, 2 inches, and I would make that 25 feet. And the right side yard is 19.6, and I would make that 19.7. The left side is outside of the 25 feet, so there wouldn't be an issue on the left side. And I have 2 letters of support, a neighbor directly across from me and a neighbor directly behind me.
Could you repeat you said the rear setback one more time, sir?
Sure. So the current rear setback is 15 feet, 2 inches, and the new setback will be 25 feet.
Okay.
The house is kind of railroad style, like a long box car.
Okay.
So that aspect of being closer to the neighbor will be diminished, and that will be improved by about 10 feet.
Right. Yeah, I was just questioning that only because I'm looking at the plans where I saw the setback was 15.2 existing. Then it says 34.5, but then if you add the deck in, it's 25, as you say. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Thank you.
So relative to the setback, you're not further infringing on any of the setbacks. In fact, you're improving on some of them. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Has the size of the building changed?
So it's going to be 2 stories, so the square footage will be larger because it's 2 floors.
Okay. But the footprint hasn't been enlarged?
The footprint will increase by about 150 square feet or so.
Okay.
Yes, I was gonna say the plan, hi, Tim, this is Joe Sebastiano.
Go
If,
ahead.
There
I
you
think the existing, says the existing square feet is 1,072. The proposed would be 1,393, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
That's, you know, the garage is slightly smaller because we had to shrink it from 24 feet to 19 feet. So we lose about 95 square feet in the garage.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
Josephina, David, do either of you have any questions?
I do not.
Josie, you're all set for now?
Are the setbacks the only reason that it's out of compliance?
It is. The lot dimensions are 50 feet across the front and 80 feet deep.
Okay. Okay. I'm sorry, I wasn't able to unmute myself because I wasn't on full screen. I've
Okay.
had a chance to review some of the documents, but I'm interested in hearing more about the project so far.
Sure. So the lot size itself is 8,000 square feet. So from a dimensional standpoint, we have a front yard that is less than 25 feet. It's 17 feet 9 inches. The proposed house would be a slight improvement to 18 feet. The rear lot, the rear yard setback is 15 feet 2 inches, and that would become 25 feet. And the right side yard is 19 feet 6 inches, and that would improve to 19 feet 7 inches. So the lot itself is 80 feet by 100. So for a total of 8,000 square feet.
And where the expansion is, it doesn't have any, it doesn't violate it looks like the expansion is primarily to what I'll call the side yard, the northwest part of it. That does not violate any setback. That seems to be.
That's correct.
Okay.
Tim, one more question, Joe Sebastiano.
Go ahead, Joe.
Yep.
Yeah, the height of the building, we're gonna be, what's the height, the total height of the new building?
Sure. So it's only 2 floors, so the height of the building will be 19 feet.
All right, thank you.
So just to, Mr. Chairman, just to add one point, I think relative to David's question, I think. So and others might know this already, but might be repetitive. But so the lot size for that zone, the R3, is 55,000 square feet. So being, if you actually, could you scroll up a little bit, Stephanie? You can see I'm sorry, the other way.
Yeah,
Looking
looking for the dimensions, right?
Yeah. So by the fact that, you know, it's only 8,000 square feet makes it a non-conforming
Non-conforming.
structure. Yeah. And because they're able to, they're raising the house, tearing it down and reconstructing it, but they're not violating any of the setbacks to a greater extent than it's already there with the existing house. They can do that through the special permit process.
Gotcha.
Thank you, Rich. And just to confirm what the applicant mentioned, there are 2 letters of support. One from Andrew and Maja Galvin from 3 Oak Road, and from Validia Gretel at 42, from 42 Mirror Lake Ave. They spoke in favor of the applicant's request. Any other questions from the board before we open it up to the public?
I think I would agree with the letters. I drove by the property. I think anything would be an improvement.
Very good. All right. At this time, I'd like to open it up to the public if there's anybody in the waiting room.
I'm seeing no hands raised.
Okay. Anything else from the board? Anything else from the applicant?
Nothing further.
Okay, thank you. Rich, did you have anything else to add?
I do not.
Okay. Can we get a motion?
You want to make the motion to close the hearing?
Yes.
Okay. I make a motion that we close the hearing for the special permit at 4 Oak Road for the demolition and reconstruction of a new structure, not to, there will be no more non-conforming than the existing structure.
Any discussion? Is there a second?
I second it.
There will be a roll call vote.
Tim Martin,
Yes.
Joe Sebastiano,
Yes.
Josie Kordahi,
Yes,
David Axberg.
Yes.
That is 4 unanimous.
Thank you, Mr. Mackin. We, if it goes well this evening for us, we'll try to deliberate your application this evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
And before we begin our next hearing, which was scheduled for 7:15 on 176 North Street, a special permit, I just want to announce again that the applicant for 23 Turner Street, a variance scheduled for 7:30, he has submitted a application to withdraw. So if anyone's in the waiting room waiting to speak to that, we're going to vote to accept that withdrawal of that application. So if that's the only reason you're here, you're welcome to stick around, but that application will be withdrawn. Joe, if you want to read the next hearing.
Sure. And Stacy, I'm going to go right to the third paragraph. Is that okay? Is that okay, Stacy? Right to this third paragraph? I guess that's correct. All right. So hearing for Carol Games at 7:15 p.m. for a special permit pursuant to Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 48, Section 9, as amended, and Section F3C of the Norfolk zoning bylaws to allow extension of existing non-conforming use. The applicant is returning to the Zoning Board of Appeals with the intention to increase the maximum capacity from 10 dogs to 15 dogs, which would constitute an extension of the special permit case number 2014-09. The property is located at 176 North Street, Norfolk, Mass. Assessors map 19, block 61, lot 18 in the R3 zoning district.
Thank you, Joe. And the applicant is Carol Gomes. If Carol's in the waiting room, we'd love to hear from her.
Yes, hi, this is Carol Gomes. Could anybody see my picture?
Carol, your video is not on.
All right, hi, everybody. I'm Carol Gomes. I am the owner of Puppy Paradise Home Boarding on North Street. I want to thank you all for giving me this opportunity. I'm confident I can answer all your questions and concerns, and thank you to my supporters who called in. Most of what I'm going to say, I think, has already been presented to the board in different forms, so I'm just going to highlight the key points. Puppy's Paradise has serviced the residents of the town of Norfolk since 2014. We board and offer daycare to our boarding customers, dogs that are very small, timid, elderly, special needs, 25 pounds or friendly. The majority of the dogs that we care for are under 15 pounds. Many seniors who are blind, deaf, arthritic, and have heart, kidney, or bladder problems. We have very strict requirements for attending our programs, such as no barking, no teasing, no peeing in the house, no humping, and then no otherwise undesirable behavior. All dogs must be current on all state required vaccines. On occasion, if a dog passes their temperament assessment and interview and exhibit any bad behaviors, they do not return. Every year we pass our annual kennel inspection by the animal control officer, Hillary Cohen. To date, there has been no issues or complaints about barking. In regards to the Conservation Commission concerns, and I deeply respect all their initiatives around the environment in this town, I can assure you that in no way that small pond is affected by my kennel area. We are not asking to expand our kennel or changing any of the footprint to accommodate the 5 extra dogs. I would love the Conservation Commission to come out and look around to put their mind at ease, and additionally, I can do to possibly protect the environment. The wildlife surrounding the fence are not affected in any way. All the plants, animals, and ecosystems are thriving on my property. All waste products are immediately double bagged in recyclable bags, and we don't use any chemicals at all on our property. To summarize, we're a small family business providing a much needed service to the residents of Norfolk, and always have and will continue to comply with all the requirements for our special permit. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Carol. Carol, I want to ask a couple questions. Is there any, other than the increase of the number of dogs that you'd like to care for at one time, going from 10 to 15, is there any other change to the business or the property that you propose?
No,
None?
none.
Okay. And as Carol mentioned, there are letters of support that were submitted to the board. Chief Stone had no issue with the proposal after a second review. Hillary Cohen, Animal Control Officer, spoke very highly in a lot of detail on the history of Carol's business and the kennel and so forth. And there's an abutter that also spoke very favorable and just substantiated what Carol just indicated about there's been no issues at the property since opening. So I don't see any letters in opposition. Does any of the board members have any questions for Carol?
When did you start the puppy daycare?
In 2014,
Specific month or just
Febu-
2000?
Feb- it was February.
Okay.
And Tim, this is Joe Sebastiano.
Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, my question won't be so much for the applicant. It may be a question more for Rich and the exact zoning bylaw and whatever limits there are on number of dogs. I guess we need to be brought up to speed on our limits within the bylaw.
Go ahead, Rich.
Sure. If you want, Stephanie, you want to just display the letter that I had submitted to the board. So back in 2014, Mrs. Gomes was able to obtain the special permit for kennels under the, if you see in my letter, D2, D5, which
Yep.
was 4 or more dogs. As part of that special permit, she was granted to have 10 dogs. It was nondescript as far as, you know, what the upper limit was. It just said 4 or more. Because of the same year in November of 2014, there was significant changes relative to kennels. That use D2, D5 was removed, and in its place was the new requirement, which is D2, D5B. It was essentially, the difference is significant in terms of you have to have a minimum lot of 5 acres. You have to be able to have a 100-foot setback for the enclosure from the property line, and has to be 500 feet from a neighboring dwelling. So she couldn't comply with those provisions. So what she is seeking is a special permit to expand a legal non-conforming use through the F5C up to 50, so 50% more. So 5 is half of 10. So this is the max that she could go to. So it would be, by virtue of the bylaw, limited to a 50% increase. It would be limited to 15 dogs.
Any other questions from the board members?
One more, Tim. I see in the application, now we're talking about a special permit to possibly allow this. There was also some variance information. There was no variance required here, right?
No.
No.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else?
So in November of 2014, which was after the February 2014 that she started the dog thing, the town meeting up the lot size to 5 acres for a commercial kennel. And that's what this would be considered, a commercial kennel, correct?
It would be a commercial kennel. However, she did receive the special permit before that zoning change. So she is able to essentially take a different path to be able to expand her use. Which is legally grandfathered, because the requirements are different now with that change in 14. So if remember, it's not just limiting dogs, but it's also putting in size requirements for the property.
Right.
And putting additional setback requirements from the enclosure. And then so she couldn't comply with them, but there is this second option, if you will, for her to be able to expand. But this would be the maximum expansion she could do.
Right. Yeah, so that's what I was asking for, Rich. Well, we just need your clarification that can be done, because if this was not a business operating already, she wouldn't be grandfathered like she is.
No.
Okay.
Yep. If she didn't have this today, she wouldn't be able to.
Right. She'd have to meet the new requirements.
Correct. Yes.
Right. Okay.
And
Thank you.
this would be the maximum amount of dogs that could be allowed under a special permit unless the bylaw were to change.
Yeah, unless the bylaw were to
Right.
change. Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions from any of the board members?
So she couldn't come back in a couple of years and ask for half as many again. She's limited to 15 dogs for the rest of her business life.
She is limited. And I'll just give you a slight caveat, which unless the town changed how much you could expand a non-conforming use. So right now you can only expand it by 50%. Then she might be able to do more, but I don't see that, so she is capped out now the way the bylaw is written. So she can't come back unless there was a completely different zoning change to make that happen,
Or additional acreage?
Yeah, I suppose, right? She could add to her property. She's got what, 2.2 acres?
Right.
But I don't know where the nearest dwelling is to her house, though. It might be close. I'm not sure about that. But
I guess my point is I didn't want to make the point that under no circumstances could you ever see a time where Carol couldn't come back and ask for more dogs. I couldn't envision a situation if she had more acreage or if the zoning bylaw changed. That was my point.
yes.
And
Today, what we have under the current situation, it's not feasible, not likely.
Correct.
yeah, so obviously the parameter of the nearest dwelling doesn't have to apply here, but would the applicant know how close the nearest dwelling is to her home or to her kennel?
You're asking me, Carol?
Yeah, yes, sorry.
I think Lorraine's, she's like maybe 500 feet, and the Stark Sharkies on the left are even more. There's quite a buffer.
Mhm.
I mean, I've checked with them on a couple occasions, and they said they've never heard a dog barking or any noise whatsoever.
Okay, thank you. That just gives us some more perspective. Thank you.
Anything else from the board?
No.
If not, I'd like to open up to the public if there's anybody that would like to.
I
speak.
would like to say something.
Go right
Hi,
ahead.
Carol. How are you? Hi. I've had some limited interactions with Carol with my own dog, Bella, and I can attest to the fact that there are certain requirements which Bella did not pass to be able to come to her home for any sort of daycare. And my dog barks a lot. I think she was with her for an afternoon, and Carol did say to me that she, even though she's small, and she's the same size as the other dogs, she's just too disturbing. So I can definitely attest to that, so I just thought I should let you know that what she's telling you is very correct about how she operates her business.
Very good.
Thank you.
I'd like to open it up to the public if there's anybody that would like to ask a question or comment.
Hi, if I could
Hey.
just say something really quick.
Yes, please identify yourself.
Hi, my name is Kylie Swenson. I've known Carol for a number of years. She's a good family friend of mine. I actually work for her, and I've seen the dog testing in action. Every dog in that business is extremely well behaved. And given the open nature of her home boarding situation, every dog has to pass those strict requirements. Just because they're all sharing the same open space. So I also can attest to the noise level and just the non-disturbance of the dogs. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kylie.
Is there anybody else that would like to ask a question or comment from the public?
And again, members of the public have the ability to raise their hand, or if you want to physically raise your hand, I have the ability to see you. So please do that in order to get our attention. I have a question from Aaron Landau. Aaron, go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I don't have a camera, sorry, so just the audio for me. I'm actually Carol's son, and I live in Natick, but I am there several days a week helping. We know the neighbors quite well. We frequently ask them if they hear any noise or barking, and we check in with them, and they pretty much always say no. Part of the reason with that is that the dogs are small, so just the frequency of the pitch of their bark, it doesn't really travel very far. So that's part of the reason why they're not disturbed, and we just don't allow barking dogs. Also, Josephine, your dog is very, very cute. Sorry it didn't pass, but I liked you bringing your pup on screen. And then I also saw in the notes that there were some questions about the zoning laws. There's not going to be any change or any construction. So the area that the dogs are in is quite large for having 10 dogs. So we just feel that we have the capacity for 15 dogs. So it's not like there would be any change whatsoever to the area. And then as far as the fencing is not on the conservation land, but if there were any issues, it's an above ground chain link fence. So it could be shifted easily to accommodate any concerns about intruding on conservation land. So just wanted to comment on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else from the public who'd like to ask a question or make a comment?
I'm seeing none, Tim.
Okay, thank you. I'd entertain a motion to close the hearing if there's no other questions.
This is Joe. Before we do that, guys, one last question. As far as the conservation part of all this, there's nothing in our purview to have to discuss that, right?
I don't think that would be before us.
Right. I just want to make sure, I just want to be clear on that before we close the hearing. So if we are deliberating this and making a decision, we don't have to discuss the conservation situation. Am I
Yeah,
right?
there's no alterations.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
I think the point is there's nothing even before the Conservation Commission.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah, I'm just getting my motion ready.
okay. I'd entertain a motion, Joe.
Yes. Make a motion that we close the hearing for Carol Games from the special permit to allow the increase, the maximum capacity of 10 to 15 dogs at 176 North Street, Norfolk, Mass.
Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Tim Martin,
Yes.
Joe Sebastiano,
Yes.
Josie Kordahi,
Yes.
and David Axberg.
Yes.
That is 4 unanimous.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. We're gonna, if we have time, and we hopefully we will, we'll try to deliberate this evening. So thank you for your presentation.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. Next on the agenda is the 23 Turner Street, which was originally an application for a variance. So Joe, if you want to read that into the record.
Okay, so we're not actually reading it like we're opening the hearing, correct?
Just
Okay.
reading the letter into the record. Sorry.
Yes. Okay, so hearing is for James Hall at 7:30 PM for a variance pursuant to Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 48, Section 9, as amended, and Section E2B2E and E1F of the Norfolk zoning bylaws to allow non-contiguous upland two times the minimum lot size within the R3 zoning district that is bisected by wetlands. Property located 23 Turner Street, Norfolk, Mass. Assessors map 16, block 34, lot 154 in the R3 zoning district.
And Rich, you can confirm, I haven't seen the letter, but I believe the applicant has submitted an application to withdraw without prejudice.
Yes, so Stephanie has it up on the
Okay.
screen. If you want to,
So we need to make a motion to accept that?
yes.
Yeah. All right, so I make a motion that we accept the applicant's withdrawal of the application without prejudice for 23 Turner Street, Norfolk, Mass.
Any discussion? Is there a second?
I second it.
Roll call vote.
Tim Martin,
Yes?
Joe Sebastiano,
Yes.
Josie Kordahi,
Yes.
and David Axberg.
Yes.
That is 4 unanimous.
Thank you. The agenda indicates, at least on my agenda, that the next segment would be deliberations. I didn't know if we wanted to go into deliberations or if we wanted to approve minutes and go to some old business before we deliberated.
I'm okay with taking care of the old business first.
Okay,
I don't believe we have any minutes to approve tonight.
That's correct.
okay, so no minutes. And then we have some old business on, we have 2 line items, Clary Circle. Rich, could you introduce that one? Yes, thanks.
Yeah, I'll introduce the topic. So as you know, we had some previous discussion at the last Board of Appeals meeting regarding 47 Clary Circle about the porch construction on the unit. I have, and I did hear after the meeting on the 21st that the applicant had a medical family emergency, therefore he wasn't able to attend the last discussion on this. That's why he wasn't here, just for the record, so the board knows. So what I have in front of you is the site plan that shows the units within Lakeland Farms. And so there's 1 Cleary Circle and there's 47 Cleary Circles. So 1 Cleary Circle is completed and occupied, and there is a porch which faces Cleveland Street. The subject for tonight is 47, which is regarding the porch, which would front onto Cleveland Street to have an architectural element that you can see within, along up and down Cleveland Street with the homes that are there. That was a requirement of the comprehensive permit that was granted for Lakeland Farms. Can you go to the next slide? Let's see. So if you see the next slide, I zoomed in a little bit more. If you look on the lower left-hand corner, there's building footprint outlines, which then correspond to an architectural design for those footprints. So if you look, you'll see that green is the the footprint and the architectural style for 47 Cleary Circle. And I believe brown is the other one that's for 1 Cleary Circle. Could you go to the next slide, please? So if you look, these are the architectural plans that were approved as part of the comprehensive permit for Lakeland Farms. And you'll see elevations on the left side, on the upper right-hand side of the paper, which has a first unit, and then it has what would be an alternate which is the left side, which is the left side is the side that faces Cleveland Street. What brings this matter before the board is when the building permit was issued back in 2019. The architectural plans, and if need be, we can go to those if necessary. I pulled the plans from the building permit application so you can see what was submitted upon applying for that permit. So unfortunately, I would say that the plans were submitted as part of the review process. It does go to the different departments to review applications before issuing the permit. And it wasn't caught with the regarding the porch on 47 when the initial permit was issued. There are some architectural changes that were done from the original building permit to what is constructed presently out within the development. But the architectural, these plans that you see from back in 2016, they did not have a porch on them. Compared to, if you go the next slide down, I think I have the other one just for comparison purposes. Yeah. So if you can see here, this is the architectural plans that were part of the approval for one Cleary Circle, which clearly shows the porch on there. So a little bit tighter as far as the documents, the architectural plans matching up with the site plans as it relates to one Cleary Circle. Not the case necessarily, I would say, looking at things as it relates to 47 Cleary Circle. Now, the people who are developing the project now were not the original people who approved, or excuse me, had the project permitted, which in the broader terms of this, it kind of raises some questions that we need to kind of internally work with the board on to prevent something of this nature happening again, because it wasn't a specific condition either. So the normal course of business is review all the conditions within the permit before going to say yes for issuance of the building permit. So having that kind of checks and balance to see, this was a situation, I would say, that we want to improve upon going forward, that we don't have, if there's these, I'll call them more specific special conditions related to architecture, that it's much clearer for all parties, for the people who participated in the hearing process and wanted to see that being done as what was represented to them. And then in the execution side, whether it's the person who permitted the project or they buy the project, it's very clear to minimize any gaps, maybe things that are missed. I don't think, hopefully I wouldn't say anything was done here intentionally, but nevertheless, it did come to light by Mr. Poggi, who lives across the street, saying, hey, wait a minute, where's that porch? And he presented that to the building department. And so we're here tonight to discuss that. The main need of tonight's discussion, if you want to go to the next slide, please. You know what, maybe, well, keep going down. I want to get to the pictures, I guess, right? That's a good place to start. So, of course, we did not have the benefit of the applicant, as I mentioned, because it was a family emergency. But so I did go out to the site after the last ZBA meeting. And so this window here is an egress window. And if you can see in the top, that's the bottom base of that chimney, which doesn't go down all the way to the ground. If we go to the next picture, I think it'll help. So that's probably a good angle here to kind of talk through the issue. So this window that's for the basement level is an egress window. So it does require head clearance, I call. That's probably not, that's my term, may not be the technical term on the building code. But it requires 3-foot head clearance. In order to, and one of the issues from the last meeting was carrying this porch from this column here, the column that's by the stairs on the left-hand side of the screen, all the way to the end, which actually is technically the front of the home. on the right-hand side of the house. And the reason why the applicant was hesitant to do that was because of that egress window and what it would necessitate to make modifications to meet the code. Is it possible to be done? Probably, although it would require a significant amount of work to regrade it, lower it, to make sure you have clear headspace to carry it all, to have somebody, if they had to go out that window, to be able to exit that window as an egress window. So that's where they would like to do the porch, but just stop it at that chimney that you see in the picture. Should we go to the next one, please? That's just the front, just gives you a view of the front elevation. If you want to go to the next picture.
Rich, quick question. Is that the only egress window?
In the basement, I don't know off the top of my head. Is I think Bisher's online, right?
I am.
Is that the only egress window?
It is.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Is that why the code says that? Because I know sometimes decks have appeared over some of these type of basement windows, but sometimes there's more than one basement window in the home.
Exactly. May I speak?
Please, go right ahead.
My name is Bisher Hashem. I'm the developer. The egress is that's the only emergency egress per code, and having like Rich said, having a deck over it, it's possible, but it's extremely complicated, and it exposes the home for future leakage and because we have to do certain things. And if I may say something here, please, the decision is clear. The architecture, there is a conflict between the architectural plans, which dictate a deck that shows the deck, the farmer's porch, going basically to where the end of the sliding glass doors that are shown in this on this picture, on this slide. But the dashed line on the site plan shows it going all the way. So that conflict still arises, and because of that, we're before you to seek an interpretation, not really a decision, but an interpretation of that decision, which way we should proceed. I believe that a strict compliance with the dashed line would necessitate a deck, not necessarily a farmer's porch, because it doesn't state a farmer's porch. But of course, we don't want to do that. We want to comply with the spirit of it and make sure that the abutters are satisfied. So I believe this is a fair compromise to have. Rich, would you please show the slide that we're proposing?
Yeah. So Stephanie, if you can show the perspectives that they submitted today, the PDFs. I think there's, yeah, there's separate. Okay, so that's. I think there's another one that's right. That's a little straight on. Yeah, there we go. That's probably a little bit better.
So I believe what we're suggesting is that this farmer's porch conforms to the spirit of, okay, there's a farmer's porch. Do you wanna Rich, show the actual approved plan, the architectural, please? Compare it to this one.
Yeah, sure. So Stephanie, can you go back to the green? So probably in the PowerPoint presentation.
Yeah, okay, here we go. So the decision specifies this plan as the approved architecture plan, which is the top right-hand corner. If you notice that the farmer's porch goes probably like halfway through, or maybe a little bit under halfway through the side of that building. The top right, the plan that's shown on the top right-hand corner, where it says the first unit, that's what the decision state from our architectural point of view. What we're proposing is extending that farmer's porch pretty much all the way up until just before that window that was shown on the egress. And if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer.
So am I looking at the plan that says, the drawing that says front elevation alternate B? Is that what I'm looking at? Right there?
One next to it.
Yeah, the top
Okay.
right-hand corner.
Am I correct that when we're looking at the pictures that you took, Rich, as well as, I guess, the PDF that you were showing, are we looking at the front or the rear of the house?
So technically, you're looking at the side of the house, the pictures I showed you.
Okay, where the sliding door is.
Yes, that's the
Okay.
side of the house.
But that's the side that we must have a porch on because it faces Cleveland Street, right?
Right. So if you think about in terms, if you just refresh your memory, the design point was really around the green. So the houses, the fronts of the houses face the green. And so then what so the rear of the houses, which, typically where the roadway is not really the front, right? So it's based on the front is pointing to the green. That was the architectural design point. And so the porches for this lot of this unit and the other one is to create the image from that the house is fronting onto Cleveland Street, but in fact, that's not the way that it was designed from a development standpoint.
Okay.
So I guess, does the abutter have an opinion of this that we didn't get clear last time?
Last time he did have his opinion. I think that the point between today and last meeting and today was more of the issue of why it wasn't, or what's the reason not to carry it all the way across. So that's where we provided some additional detail, and he's provided some reasoning why he would like to stop it at the chimney.
Right. So will we need the abutter to possibly chime in to?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yep.
Mr. Poggi, whenever you're ready.
Hey there, Dave Poggi, 89 Cleveland. Thanks for having me. Yeah, I mean, I think largely the bigger concern here is we went through a 40B process. We had a comprehensive permit reflecting the agreements made between the town at much legal expense, the applicant, and the impacted townspeople, I guess. And we, as a final concession, we're told we're going to put two porches fronting the street to reflect the town feel. I think I share the concerns that as a precedent for the town, it doesn't really concern me if an applicant transitions ownership to a builder. Those concessions and agreements and comprehensive permits need to be reflected, right? Like, so now what we're looking at, I mean, if I kind of cut to the chase, they built a different unit, right? And they put an egress in a spot that doesn't align with what the town agreed to, or the townspeople did. And now the question is, how do we make it right? What did I want? I was hoping we did. That 40B process was long and arduous for everybody. I'd love to see it if we actually reflected what we all agreed to, not say, well, it was 2.5 years ago and the applicant didn't catch it when they submitted it. That to me is concerning. We need to make sure that doesn't happen again, especially with more projects going up. There were many concessions over and over during that process. I was fortunate enough to be on the last meeting where another development was being talked about. We haggled over everything from emergency road widths, allowing for emergency vehicles. We talked about in this project whether it was okay to cut down an 8-inch tree or a 10-inch tree. One by one, those things are would seem minor, but when you put them all together, when you get to people and something as emotional as changing the neighborhood, and as emotional as welcoming new residents, I think I'm just looking for us to find a way to reflect what we talked about. So I don't know. I know that building has continued on the project since I raised the question of why it didn't have a porch. I mean, that feels like people want to just move forward and assume that we're going to deal with it as is. That's concerning. I'd love to see us do the porch and extend it as possible. I'd love to see it put the egress in a different place. As we're looking at what I'm looking at now, I see things on the plan, and I'm not sure which plan this is, apologies, but I see a post and rail fence. And if you go back to the proposed design, and I say this only because every item was discussed, the look and feel, the materials used on fencing, the type of fencing, the size of trees that could be cut down, the number of parking spaces. I'm looking at this, and if I look in front of the property where it comes up to the parking spaces, I see a post and rail fence. Yep. And before that, I just see nothing leading up to the porch. I may be interpreting wrong. But if I look at the new drawing, I see now this property has a porch, but it also has a new fence around it. I'm not a builder. I'm not a designer. I'm just looking forward to reflect the agreements that we made just 2 years ago.
Okay.
So, I mean, and I don't, I think the larger concern for me is the applicant didn't notice, the town's elected town's official didn't notice, nobody noticed that it didn't comply. We had an agreement. I put that on the applicant, whether it was a transition of ownership or not. So I'm just looking for them to fix it and build it in the spirit that it was originally intended.
Thank you. I have a question for the developer. Again, I'm not a developer. I'm not a builder. I understand from what you're saying about the egress from the basement window. Would it be possible, because the farmer's porch seems to be an important aesthetic piece, not more of a functional piece for the project as the entranceway to the project and for the neighbors across the street. Is it possible to almost create a false porch? What I'm suggesting is, if you had the farmer's porch go to that chimney line, so to speak, and then the rails continued on the full length, but you'd have an interior rail, so build the porch to what you're suggesting, but then extend the rails like above it without a floor. I don't know if the code, there'd be nothing above the window. That's a building code issue, but it would be kind of just a rail out there. If you took out the boards, so to speak, and made the porch railings go all that way, so that if you're from the street or 5 feet away, you'll never know that the porch really never goes the full length of the building. And then obviously for safety reasons and probably code, there would be the porch on the interior would stop. There'd be a rail going back towards that chimney bump out, I suppose. I don't know if I'm making myself clear, but
Tim, this is Joe. Wouldn't the porch or whatever the false porch part, we have to have that overhang, right? This has to be a cover over the porch. Am I correct? The true farmer's porch has a cover over the porch.
Correct.
Right.
But that would be above.
That's correct. Yeah, that's about right. Meaning, like, even whatever appearance
Right.
we get, making it go towards the end, I think that whatever above has to go towards the end as well.
Right.
Correct.
Right. I'm thinking from a code issue, and I don't know the code, but if that could be a creative way to make things look the way that some folks want them to look and avoid, you know, obviously comply with the code. I don't know. I just throw it out there as is that a possibility?
So the deck, the porch essentially doesn't have a floor there in that piece. It's just,
Correct.
okay.
I honestly don't see how it is, I can do that with in a, I don't see, I understand what you're saying, but I do not know how to do that. Where basically what you're saying is kind of like have a fake porch without a floor. So that the egress would be possible.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, we've all driven by those houses that have those features that are. So to do that, all right, you'd put a roof, you'd put a post down on one end. You couldn't have a railing because you need to leave that access free from the egress. So you couldn't have a floor, you couldn't have a railing. So now 3/4 of the deck is going to have a railing. The last quarter of the deck has no railing. It would look like a funny little scabbed on roof.
And I think
You couldn't have a railing. Is that the code issue?
No. The point of the railing was just that the whole rest of the deck is going to have a railing. The whole rest of the porch would have a railing. Then you'd get to this end and there would be nothing because you couldn't have a railing because it would restrict that access to the egress point.
That was my question. If you had a railing, but nothing over the egress point of the window, and I don't know how far away you have to be and all that, but you could come out the window and go up. There'd be nothing to impede that, but I don't know the code.
Yeah, you have to maintain a 36-inch clearance, like basically a crawl space unimpeded. And we just don't have that room over it to put any kind of, like I said, a railing or anything like that. There's just not the room for that there. And again, I really think what you'd end up with would be something that would look like you were trying to accomplish something without actually doing it. So I really think it wouldn't look complete. It would look like you half finished a deck and then stopped if you tried to do something like that.
Go ahead, Mr. Poggi.
Yeah, just, I mean, for the benefit of my future neighbor, and I appreciate the creativity. I even try to take the point of view of if you looked at it from what is the front of the house. So as we're facing it right now, it's the right side that we can't see. I'm not sure it would. Yeah, I mean, while I think it would, I appreciate the creativity. I want somebody to be happy to live there too, right? And that would be, I would tend to agree with some of the previous comments. It would look like you half did it. It wouldn't be functional. It wouldn't help them. I don't know if there are other options, but I'd be worried about a railing with a hole. These are families, potentially family homes. I'd be worried about kids climbing around in them. It'd be a pretty decent drop too, given that there's that well there. So,
Chairman, can I speak?
Please go ahead.
I am really sympathetic to Mr. Poggi's concern, and I just would like to clarify a point. I wish whatever it is that the abutters that they worked hard along with the board on agreement. I wish that agreement was reduced into a written agreement or a written plan versus just in meetings and back and forth. Because somebody like me who bought the project approved has nothing to go on except what was documented, not in meetings, but not verbal meetings, but documented in memorialized in the form of words and plans. And the approved plan, architecturals, do not show any, farmer sports that goes all the way. So you know, although, yeah, we missed it going partially, but okay, we're willing to restore it partially or beyond partially. But to go all the way to cover it is really uncalled for in any of the plans except a dashed line on a site plan, which I would suggest to you that it is not really a plan. But I'm acknowledging the fact that it's totally disappointing to the abutters who worked hard on it, and I feel really bad that we're disappointing them, because I hate to disappoint anybody. But I feel that the compromise that we're offering is really the prettiest picture that we can offer for the abutters, yet have whoever the future occupant of this house still functional and something they can be proud of. And thank you for listening to me.
Thank you.
Could we see that PDF again, or the replication of what that proposed solution is?
Keep going over to the LF01s on the PDF. Yeah, those last three there. Yeah.
Is there going to be a fence like this as well?
Yeah, this fence is not, it's going to be a normal vinyl fence, 6 foot high. The computer system just didn't have, the flat, so it looks like a stockade fence there. But it's a normal vinyl fence. I mean, realistically, this is a computer generation. The way we've got it set up now, I do think will be, I wouldn't pitch something, we wouldn't pitch something that wouldn't be seemly. So our goal here was to come up with something that we would meet, from what I was, talking with Mr. Poggi and the town, trying to meet the spirit of, this is what we'd like there. Okay. But at the same time, being possible to tie it in with, what was approved in the building permit.
Right. But is the adding of the fence though part of this proposed solution? Are there any restrictions to fences on these properties?
No, this has been common through the whole site.
And this is part of the solution. This wasn't part of the original approval, as far as you know. I wasn't involved with this.
No, there was not a fence here on the.
Okay, so this is part of the solution. I understand. Okay.
Right, but I think even these property owners, they would be allowed to put fences around these properties.
Once all the fences are in place, like that, they're fixed. The exclusive areas, the exclusive use areas are fixed.
Okay, right. So I guess let's just say the abutter sees this as a more functional and possible solution to the issue. Is the fence becoming more another part of the issue? I don't know. Does the fence take away from what the original intent was?
So the point of the fence is to avoid any collection of, it's basically keep that area looking neat and clean, right? We have a big landscaped area out front when you come to the intersection with trees and shrubbery and things like that. You have a door coming off the side of the house there. It's where the homeowner is going to have, access to keep any patio furniture and stuff like that. The point of the fence is to keep that from impacting the neighbor's views.
Right.
Okay.
So I guess I'd like to hear from the abutter about this particular PDF. And, I didn't hear any comments about the fence earlier.
Yeah, I apologize if I wasn't clear. That's a surprise to me. I mean, if we go back to the site drawings, there's no fences around that.
And that's why I brought it up, because I didn't pick up on the fence being
right.
And so I just wanted to make sure we had your comment on that.
Yeah, if you even look at the plan, I mean, a lot of the commentary, a lot of the concessions, a lot of the feedback was in order to make the neighbors happy, the porches were put on. They talked about having stone walls to reflect the stone walls up and down Cleveland Street. If you drive up and down Cleveland Street, you will see split rail fences everywhere, or post and rail fences as is depicted in the diagram next to the parking spots. I don't see any fence around this property. So the idea that we're going to put up a standard vinyl fence doesn't sound like the spirit of the things that were discussed.
But if you had the farmer's porch there, could, as a developer suggests, couldn't there be a lot of things that may be unsightly to some when they pull in, whatever that could be on that porch area?
Have you seen my house? Absolutely. but I again, I can't speak to that. What I can say is the vinyl fencing that they're proposing is not something like, we'd have to go back and look at notes, but that's new. That there was a lot of talk of what it looked like as you pulled into the neighborhood and how it would reflect the surrounding areas.
Yeah, so there wasn't, I think, Stephanie, I think the landscape plan is part of that PDF if you wanted to. I think I included it in there. Yeah. So that's the landscape plan. It was part of the approved set. Yeah, there was no.
Yeah, this is one of the interesting pieces here, is because you can see actually that there's landscaping right up against the side of the unit here with no porch showing at all. And again, this is where, we are doing our best as the builder to take what we have, all right, and translate it to, the best possible end result, right? So we got one page in the site plan that shows a porch, right? We have another one that shows nothing at all on that side of the house. And then we have architectural showing a third, more specific layout for the side there. So for all of these things, we've been working hard to really put together a site that I think everybody can be proud of. I do think, whereas I'm not exactly sure which fence Mr. Pogge is referring to near the parking spaces, what I can say is that if you drive through the site, there are a significant amount of beautiful fieldstone rock walls throughout the site. There are also some really nice wooden guardrails across the board, and actually going in shortly is going to be all the paver work and the driveways and things like that. I really do think at the end of the day, this is going to be a beautiful project, a community, that people are going to be proud of. So, and that's our goal. I mean, we've been working towards that for a long time. But this is where, like with the fence, when we sit down and we look at, okay, there's a door on that side of the house. This is where the homeowner is going to keep some things. How do we make sure, the goal is to make sure that whole area is neat and clean. When people drive in, when people are driving down the road, they look into the site and they see, that's the beauty of Lakeland Farms, that it doesn't become a fight with whatever homeowner ends up being there. Because it's really difficult to make those, once somebody's in a house, it's really difficult to set new rules in place later. So that's why, we've put that together. I had talked to Mr. Pogge about adding some more plantings along the front there as well. I'd be happy to talk about that, but we are really working hard to come up with something that would be aesthetically pleasing.
So I guess this is Joe again. Is there some way to get to some sort of resolution here of what we want, what we can make this look like that might be appropriate to the abutter, as well as, whether it includes more landscaping, whether it includes a fence or not, but I guess that's what we're trying to get to here, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
So I know, Rich, you did a lot of research on this. Maybe you can just lead us to whether we have a solution here or not.
I guess I'm working, trying to find
right
that solution.
Yeah.
I think, you have really two different perspectives on the issue, right? So I get, Mr. Pogge's, because he's in the butter and participating in the process to it. And then the execution, then we're at the execution point, and then what's in the plan. I don't know if there's, so it's either, could there be architectural changes to the porch, the roof of the porch, maybe that mimics the other porch that might help soften. So that's kind of a straight end on it. I understand not going to the end, but if there was, a different roof line in, I know it's the same type roof line that's on the top, but if I go to the house that's on one Cleary, it's kind of has a, if you go to my presentation, I think you can see the picture of it. I mean, this gets dangerous if I'm talking about architecture, I guess, but one more down. So you see how that, the one on Cleary has a little different, there's a,
Yeah,
bends,
there's a hip bend on this. Yep.
yeah, there's a hip bend onto it. I mean, if there were hip ends onto this, maybe it mimics it a little bit better. So being just short, not the full length, creates a more consistent look to the other one that maybe gets us there instead of going all the way. That's just one thought that I have. The other thing is it could, maybe there are some plantings that could be not up top, but maybe in the front that grow in over time that fill in that space visually, I'm not talking about arborvitaes or anything like that, but something that naturalizes, that fills in that visual space too. So it doesn't, catch your eye, so to speak, to meet it. But I will say, as I said to you in the beginning, what we're talking about right now is exactly what we want to not have. We want to minimize this going forward. So we're going to be, I could tell you that I know Fisher is potentially looking at, well, he's maybe buying another one in town. That's Lakeland Hills. We have Abbeville. And so not to jump ahead, but it's a combination of plan development versus some customization to it to create some bandwidth for people to, is their home. How do we kind of match both things up so we don't repeat this here in this case? Because you got an expectation from Mr. Poggi, I get it. But then, like he said, there's somebody that's going to live there. How do we get in between so we don't go down this road anymore? Because, you have site plans that were done by an engineer. You've got a landscape plan that was done by a landscape architect, and we got to prevent inconsistencies all the way through. So whatever is carried through the change, it carries through in every plan. If it's landscaping, it carries through. If it's architecture, it's carried through. So we don't, believe me, we don't want to do this. We don't want to do this for anybody. We don't want to be in the situation for both the residents who went through this whole process and then the developer going forward, that we have potential gaps, because I could see both sides. There's discrepancies. It's not all the way through. I know the board did a yeoman's job when they're permitting this, and you get that last little detail stuff that's important. And that's what we're talking about tonight.
And Rich, just confirm for me that this gentleman, this developer, he bought this project after it was approved, and he put off those set of plans that were approved.
Right.
That's what he bought. So
Right. He did.
And I think he mentioned that. I just wanted to be clear on that, since I was on the board then. And now he's trying to make a compromise based on the about of Mr. Poggi, who's brought this up. And I don't doubt him that these things were brought up, and probably ad nauseum at a lot of hearings over a lot of time. And for whatever reason, it didn't get carried through. And then this gentleman bought the approved plans and proceeded with those plans.
Exactly. And then I think, just but add to this, is that, the other projects are bigger. I would expect the build out time to be much longer. And, we want to make sure we don't lose things in translation. So we don't have that, because it needs to be smack clear in your face. There's no, if we have these type of conditions going forward. So I don't have a great answer, but I would think maybe there's some landscaping, maybe there's a little tweak to the architectural design to get it closer to what I think, I know Mr. Poggi last time, used the term farmer's porch, right? So, although it says porch, I get that. But if you look at the one Clear, I hate to point to that one, but in terms of
I had a question about that one, Richard.
So, yep.
How is it that one clearing ended up with a porch and this one did not?
So so let me just back up. So 47 has a porch. It just doesn't match what was on that site plan. That's the problem. The architectural plan shows a porch on part of it and not a farmer's porch. Because Stephanie, if you go back up to just show them the green unit again. You know, so if you look,
this is how come this didn't have a porch. The other unit had a clear porch showing on the plan, whereas this unit here where the cursor is right now, it shows this plan. It doesn't show a farmer's porch. If you Stephanie, if you would please show the plan of that unit, the first unit on the right.
I think it's one more page up.
yeah, one more page.
Page 2 maybe. No.
Yeah, one more, I think, down.
You
Yep.
see, one
so-
more.
One more.
Yeah,
There you go.
good.
Yeah.
You see how clear this plan is.
Mhm.
This is how come that unit has it and the other unit didn't, because the other unit didn't say this is how we want it.
Okay. So I see variations between the two. And I understand that the neighbors had, met multiple times, I guess, that was their understanding.
Exactly, and you really don't blame them. But for me, a newcomer, I see a plan that clearly says this is what I want. But by definition, that means the other ones are not like this, because the other plan didn't show that.
So I don't know if Mr. Mr. Poggi raised his hand. I see both points of view, right? So we're trying to work towards something, and I don't know if maybe Mr. Poggi has an additional comment, but
Yeah, just two quick clarifications. So for the image we're looking at right now, that is the one at the top, left elevation, first unit. It says specifically first unit. That's what I believe it is. One cleary looks like if we scroll up to the picture or scroll
Correct.
down to
Yep.
the pictures.
Yep, that's one cleary.
And if you go down to the actual picture, I think it was there on the right, looks pretty similar, right? It's got the farmer's porch. It looks exactly like it says for the first unit. So now if we go back to the diagram of what this one that we're talking about is supposed to look like, I see that's at the top, left of elevation, first unit. That's what it was supposed to look like. But instead what we got was that. So that's, I don't know, unclear. I guess the second question I kind of have here is we've been talking about fences, and if people would like me to point out the split rail fence I was mentioning, I'm happy to. But I don't see a split rail fence in front of the house on the right with a farmer's porch. I'm not sure what necessity or I don't see any fence in front of that one. Maybe that's coming. But I don't understand. Again, this is about clarifications and questions that were made 2 years ago. What the appearance of the neighborhood, all due respect to everything that's done in the neighborhood. I mean, the green will probably be amazing. The fences within the unit will be amazing. But a lot of conversations were about what would this look like from Cleveland Street, not even going into the unit. So I'm not sure I understand why a vinyl fence is getting thrown in front of unit on the left, and on the one on the right, which arguably has the same concerns of owner keeping it tidy and clean, we're not having the same discussion. It just doesn't make any sense to me. It seems like it's,
So you're saying what's there now doesn't even match what was on the plan either?
well, just two clarifications. One, it doesn't match the plan. Two, there is no farmer's porch. Three, we're being told that there needs to be a vinyl fence around it. That was something that people would have pushed back on pretty hard. And the reason we're being told is because it's going to have a porch now, but I see the one on the right and it doesn't have a fence around it. So I don't understand the argument. I appreciate that the builder is attempting to make do with a good situation. And I think the biggest thing as a townsperson I would like is we need to figure out how to tick and tie, because there was many concessions made, written, unwritten, and then put in site plans that didn't get translated into what got built. And that's concerning.
Can we
Thank
go
you for the clarification.
Thank you. Can we go back to the slide that seems to indicate or suggest what this unit should look like again?
I mean, there is some differences. I can see it myself. You know, like the features of the
Sure.
windows, the features of the windows look very different.
Yeah, there are a couple so we have a lot more AZEC running across the whole top of the house, right? As opposed to a strip coming down the side. We made a couple minor tweaks to the side of the unit. But functionally speaking, you know, again, this here, what, you know, in the discussion about a porch, right, a farmer's porch on the side, it is very clear that the porch is the same size as it would have been previously, but you add a side door, you know, coming, you know, a single side door coming out the side there. So this is where the point is here in this meeting. We are coming together and talking about, okay, let's reconcile all of these together, right? And this is where I sat down with, what is the house that's built that got approved through the building permit process? And how can we make it match what some of the abutters are asking it to look like? All right. I think what we've got, it's the trouble with computer generated graphics. I do think that what I put together on those drawings will look nice. It's hard because, you know, again, it doesn't have all the details. The computer doesn't have the exact fencing, all those kind of things. I'm pretty confident. I'm very confident that what this will look like at the end will be neat and clean and matching the aesthetic of the site, because everything else that we've put in there right now has a mesh and a flow and again, I think looks very good. So this was my, you know, pass at, this would be something that would accomplish what we're talking about and match the overall aesthetic of the site. If there are suggestions like that, like adding a hip roof and things like that, I'm happy to take them into account and talk about those things. We are operating from a structure that exists.
This is Joe from the board. I actually have to agree though with, even what the plans show, even if they're not showing the full farmer's porch on this side of the house, it does look very different than the plans show. And to me, it looks like the back of a house versus, you know, the other appearance that looks like in the plans looks a little more attractive. So I guess there's definitely some disconnect. But yet I know we have to look for a solution here that could possibly be good and look good. I mean, I don't think the fence looks good. That's my opinion, but.
And I think I agree with you. I think the two houses look, I wouldn't know, they look.
Yeah,
totally
they're completely different. I mean, if that top right view is what we were looking at all along,
yeah,
I'd say, yeah, I mean, that's pretty nice looking. Again, there could be still an argument about where the porch is, but it is such drastic. That doesn't even look like the back of a house to me in the drawing.
If the board would like us to build what's drawn on the plan there, I'm happy to.
Right.
Okay, I'm more than happy to do that if that's the solution that meets what we're talking about here.
Yeah, but I don't think the board will make the decision alone without the abutters' inputs. That's for sure.
No, but that's what I'm
You know,
saying.
I leave that.
I would really, you know, it is tough to build a house as we go. You know, we have to build it as either as approved or with a little bit of leeway. But to come now and say, and I would really also encourage you, like Owen said, I think that PDF is a poor depiction. Rather than look at the PDF, look at the actual picture of the site. It doesn't look as bad as the PDF makes it look. Yeah. Okay. And now imagine the farmer's porch on top of that that we're proposing. I think I would suggest to you that it would look pretty nice. But we're here again, like I said, to try to work with each other. It's at this point to rebuild, to destroy the house and rebuild it, I think is unreasonable. It's also unreasonable to leave it like it is. So we're trying to find a solution where we can live and let live, but both be kind of
Yeah.
happy with each other.
But admittedly, that what is that? Is that a chimney type of box that you're showing in the actual picture? That's a chimney of some sort?
It is.
Right. Is that what we see in the plans on that top right corner of the plans? Is there a chimney in the front like that or in that face?
No, there is not.
Okay, so yeah, some differences there.
Sure, there is.
Okay, yeah, I mean, again, I always lean towards, we'd have to find something that's appealing enough to the abutters as a solution. That's all I can say. I mean, that's my opinion, Tim. We can't alone make the
No,
decision.
I agree. I was, like I said, they look dramatically different to me for several reasons. And I'm not sure if one of these proposals here is a solution that's makes the most sense. I don't know. It's aesthetics. It's not function. It's aesthetics.
Is the answer just to go back to the architectural plan that's shown here?
Well, I know the abutter pointed out that there is a stark difference between what's in the plans and what's being built, I guess. Again, I don't know if the abutter would chime in to say that what he sees in the plans on the top right is acceptable, or again, is it still missing something that was negotiated that just wasn't captured? So.
Yeah, I mean, so if I'll pipe up here. And,
thank you.
And I recognize I'm the only abutter that showed up here, but I think it's worth noting that I raised this when I was talking to another abutter who, as we saw the house go up, made the comment to me, wasn't that supposed to have a farmer's porch on it? And I had been thinking the same thing myself. Mm-hmm. So I don't want to come across as the lone person here making a decision. I don't know that I am the one that can make a decision. I think when the builder's representative came by to my house and asked me, well, what do you want? I said, I don't think that's my call. Right. I think it's a larger community call. What was represented to the abutters back when the site plan was approved was a farmer's porch. I'm not sure how we got to the elevation on the left side of the screen that says first unit. Honestly, don't know how we got there. I know what was represented to move this plan across the line for approval from the town and from the abutters. And that was, hey, we'll put farmers porches on the first 2 units. We will do stone walls and split rail fences for appearances to maintain the spirit of the surrounding neighborhood. I only raised the first unit elevation because it seems like we're getting farther and farther away from, again, ticks and ties. What was planned, what was submitted, what was signed off. There's a lot of holes here. That I don't think for all the money that the town, for all the time that the elected officials, for all the time that the townspeople put into this, there's lots of gaps. So I don't have an answer for you for what the abutters in general would want. I think the farmer's porch is what we expected. I think that the fence here really doesn't fit with anything that we were told about. I think it doesn't align with the other picture of the other house that doesn't have a fence but has a farmer's porch.
Right. Yeah.
I think the farmer's porch that they've suggested is a good consideration. To me, this unit looks a lot. I mean, it's missing some windows, but it looks like the second unit down, left elevation, right? I think they've replaced a couple windows with a door. I think they've added a chimney that, frankly, is making this whole thing challenging, right? How do you put a farmer's porch over a chimney? How do you put it over an egress that, So I'm not offering you any solutions. I think there's some gaps here, and if you want to talk to the other abutters, if you want to talk to the other neighbors, I'm sure we could try to arrange that. But I think the big thing was to maintain the look and feel, farmer's porch, split rail fences, stone walls of the existing community when the project was approved.
So, yeah, I definitely, Mr. Poggi, I definitely understand exactly what you're coming from. I think we've definitely been talking about that. It seems like somewhere in the process of approving everything, there were differences on different sets of the plans. I wasn't there for those meetings. The goal here now is hopefully to come up with, a resolution, a clarification of, how do we move forward? So the one distinction is the way we're talking about here on what we pitched, is that the direction we want to go, or do we want to revert back to what's on the approved architecturals? I'm happy to, like I said, I'm happy to do that top right plan, facade on the side there. I think that what we've pitched here is much more in keeping with it.
I'm thinking, this is Joe again from the board. I'm thinking that you maybe just put forth your best plan that shows what the neighbors expected to be a farmer's porch look for this side. And you're right, without the fence, I believe too. I think they want it to look more like the other one at the number one. But again, it's just put forth and let the neighbors get a look and see if that's a way to see if we can be in agreement. I don't think the board can make a decision tonight that this is the solution yet, if I'm correct, Tim.
I agree with Joe. I think, that the developer has made several attempts here, all in good faith. There's a fence, and maybe folks don't want the look of that fence, and I understand that. So I think maybe if the developer could take one more pass at it based on the conversation tonight, working with kind of this design with the farmer's porch not going the full length. I don't know if there's plantings or a hip roof or something. That might be the best opportunity, as opposed to going back and looking at what I'm seeing here called left elevation first unit, which, that's my recommendation, is make another pass at it if you'd like.
May I suggest something, please?
Please.
Okay. Please keep in mind that this, on the one hand, we have to absolutely, and we are totally going along with that, trying to appease the abutters. On the other hand, there's other consideration. This is an approved project. The house is sold. We were building in good faith. To keep prolonging it, I mean, this is one abutter
building under a permit,
and this is one abutter that has an opinion. Somebody else, which we totally respect, we respect his opinion, but somebody else might have a different opinion, and so to leave us hanging, subject to opinions and different on the decision that's already made, and the appeal period expired on it, and we're going forward with it, is being a little bit unfair to us. What if may I suggest something? If it seems like everybody has believes that the fence is unsightly, why don't we remove the fence? We proceed with the construction with the farmer's porch as is. It seems like Mr. Poggi is kind of lukewarm, or finds it like acceptable, and I don't want to put words in his mouth. I would love to hear his opinion. But this way we are because in a strictly cold legal sense, okay, we have this plan on the top right hand side showing that we have to conform to, period. But we're not here for that. We're here to make sure that we don't want to upset anybody. We want to live with the spirit of the agreement, even though we haven't been there. So I would very respectfully suggest to you that if we remove the fence and go along with the maximum farmer's porch possible, where the egress is still, the means of egress is still available. This way, we are in compliance with the porch, this dashed line porch on the plan. We have increased the farmer's porch shown on the architecturals, and it's the best compromise where we can proceed, with this, where we don't have to go back and forth and with this plan and frankly, I don't see any other plan possible for that farmer's porch aside from what we suggested. There's no other one, and extending it all the way is a very burdensome assignment to do. What I would request from you, from the board members, to proceed, go ahead with what we have proposed. Remove the fence, otherwise, if you're not willing to make a decision and keep on designing the house as we go, we're gonna have to go with the approved plans, and then and we have to put the stake in the ground someplace, because we have to move on. We can't just change the designs and oh, this person likes it, this person doesn't like it. With due respect to everybody, I really want everybody happy, but we also need to move on with the project.
Well, and that's why this meeting was set up, was to have this conversation. Oh, sorry, Joe, I think you're muted.
Thank you. You did say, though, is there a chance that the roof could have more of a feel to it? Different.
There is, however, in my experience, and this is not, I'm not trying to sell it one way or the other. For a couple different reasons, I don't think a hip would look better in this scenario. First off, because there's not a good way to hip both sides of the roof, because the other roof, how do you describe it? Because of the steps and the way the entrance on the left-hand side of this unit shows up, you really can't put a hip on that side. Having a hip on one side but not on the other would look, again, incomplete. It would look like you stopped it short. The other big thing, and this is, the key one, is when you're driving down the street, and I should have sent an image over looking from like as you come in the entrance road. Because of the angle you come in, this porch will look, as you drive by on Main Street, as if it runs almost the entirety of that side of the house, because you look at that house from an angle.
Do you mean from Cleveland Street?
From Cleveland Street, exactly.
Right.
So yeah, right, exactly. So I do think, realistically, I do think this is a best stab. These computer images, again, put together like this, aren't perfect, but I really do think at the end of the day, this will be a good looking farmer's porch.
So without the fence, is there a full like rail and farmer's porch type railing that goes around like the one?
Oh yeah, it has to be because of the height of the porch. Right. Yep. So it'll match the one on the other unit.
And actually, if it pleases the board and Mr. Kogi, we can do, in place of this fence that you're seeing there, we can do a split rail fence.
Yeah.
A split rail fence in place of this row fence, which might go along, comply with the spirit of what Mr. Kogi was talking about.
Well, if I'm correct, the thing is to see the farmer's porch, not to have the farmer's porch fenced in.
Sure.
Right. But the split rails are wide open, so that would be that would add some fencing that they were talking about.
All right.
Or not have any fencing. That's fine.
Yeah, I think the no fence and as much of a look and feel of a farmer's porch is what we're trying to get to here. Because if that was what was going up in the beginning, the neighbors would have said, "Oh, they're putting up a farmer's porch on those first two houses." I turned to Rich for how to take a step forward here, but.
Well, I think you kind of landed on it. I think the idea of removing that fence would help out a lot, because now you actually see the porch,
right,
which was the whole idea of it, right? And so it doesn't constrict it. It feels more open the way it is. Because you wouldn't.
Which was the intent of this design discussion way back when? Was the intent to make this side of the house look like a front as opposed to a side?
That was what was represented as the final concession.
Okay. Yep. Yeah. Again, I personally, I think the developers talked about a split rail fence. I think they look nice in front yards and a nice look, but that's just
well, the split rail fence is what's in the area, and it's also what's on the plans and one of the diagrams further up in the presentation. That was what I was alluding to. If you actually look at the site plan, it calls it out.
Yeah.
If you wanted an exclusive area, which it sounded like, and I think that's what you kind of talked about earlier, right? For this potential homeowner, if the split rail fence can accomplish the goal, so at least you have a defined exclusive area, but the split rail is kind of in keeping with, what's in the neighborhood. You wouldn't typically see a stockade fence that tight to a front porch like that, right? So that
Sure.
looks
Yeah,
kind
that
of-
makes sense.
yeah.
That makes sense. So that's how we'll do it. We can do a split rail fence running around that.
If that's the decision.
I
Is
mean,
that-
this is Joe from the board. I mean, I have to, I can attest that the developer, Bisher, I mean, he's been involved with a lot of the projects that we have here in town. And, he's worked very hard to, help any issues like this be discussed and resolved. I can only say that if we're building something that looks like a farmer's porch and you can see a nice railing around it and it has a nice look coming in, sounds like it's our, best solution. Like I said, if the intent was to make it look like the front of a house, there is quite a bit of a little difference from what I saw in that plan, but because it's so windowless on that top right side of the house, at least on the top right side of this view.
Yeah.
But getting a farmer's porch attached to this in the best fashion we can looks like our solution.
Okay.
That's. It's
So,
not,
so Rich, I don't know how
it's not perfect, but I think that's where we landed.
what's required for him to proceed based on this discussion.
Well, I think in light of all the discussion, I wouldn't mind a vote. That way he's got, whether you like the results, we have something to fall back on. So just to acknowledge, vote to the farmer's porch as depicted in the plans.
Without the fence?
Without the fence, except for you could replace that fence with a split rail fence. And
And would the split rail be in about the same area as this fence approximately?
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to be certain before if we're going to put this to a vote, that if there's anybody else, Stephanie, in the waiting room that we haven't heard from.
don't see any hands or anything. But.
Okay, I just want to be certain, that's all.
I haven't heard any comments from David or Josie on this before we vote. Is there a chance?
Yep.
I don't know how they feel.
Yes, hi, thank you, Joe. This is very unfortunate, the way things kind of ended up like this. I feel for both sides, I really do. I know that in a sense that the builder is protected because of what was signed on, and I've attended many meetings. I mean, residents and abutters take the time and the effort to be there. They spend a lot of time in these proceedings. I can completely understand that they would, if they had known this is how it's going to be, that they would have deliberated on it. So this is very tough. I mean, and it's the roadway. So what are I understand that you're proposing, or like a farmer's porch, it's going to take a lot of revision. I mean, to get it the way you want it, and then it's tough. It's very tough. But I am listening to the residents and what their concerns are and what what we are looking at and facing today. If it had been presented at that time that this is what it's going to look like, they would have deliberated a lot more and have been more vocal. So
It sounds like, Josie, if we had what I'll call a 3/4 length, I know it's longer than that, but 3/4 length farmer porch with a split rail, the look would be much closer to a front yard, a classic New England front yard type look with the split rail. And that's where we're going as far as a resolution to this. Issues talked about, from a practical standpoint of where everything is, and we want to honor request to move forward one way or the other. They're in a development.
And honestly, I've never seen that seems like that's an egress. I mean, I've never seen a sliding door automatically go out to an egress. I usually see sliding doors, in combination with decks and porches. So this is also a design that I'm not familiar with. And I've seen a lot of houses. So I mean, it doesn't match the original plan, and at the same time, there's been, I don't know, but I guess whatever you could do to get there. But to me, the sliding doors don't, I mean, it is not, this is almost like a fire, like a fire escape or a second egress. I don't associate sliding doors with just an egress. It's usually something more substantial after a sliding door.
So are you suggesting a different type of door style at that location as opposed to a slider?
I mean, it's already a slider, it's already there. But I don't know.
What's the developer's thought on that?
So what I'd say is this. If the board is amenable to the what we've proposed here, again, getting rid of the vinyl fence and putting in a split rail fence, let us build it. I mean, we'll put the porch in, we'll put the fence in, and it's going to look good. That it will look. I think we can capture the look that we're talking about here.
And would the door be made as a slider?
Yeah, yes, it would. That's what I'd suggest, leaving it as a slider. However, with the railing and the roof and everything like that, I don't think it's going to stand out as much as
It does now.
Right.
I agree with that, with the railing and the roof. I have one question. Was the slider put in first and then the decision to have that small egress off of the slider made later? I mean, like how much later? And when was that decided in the process?
They're two separate items. The slider was seen as a better use of a separate entrance. And then there's a basement egress that's on the end of the unit. That's the thing we've been discussing, is limiting the edge of the porch.
But typically a slider is an introduction to a deck. And we don't have a deck here, we have a small minimal egress. So I'm just wondering, like, if something had changed during the process, where, okay, here's the slider, but we're only gonna do this much,
Josephine, the slider was supposed to go onto a set of stairs to go onto a patio on the side. A patio on
Okay.
Okay. But now, I mean, I think that's gonna really look attractive, in my opinion, to have a farmer's porch. So the sliders will go onto the farmer's porch, and then the split rail will add, and we'll add few like little plants on the split rail. It'll look like a front yard. It'll look really nice.
Okay. If it has overhanging anything, then that is amenable to me. Yes.
Yeah, I think that would be part of it, Josie. Yep, thank you. Good comments.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think if you just get rid of the vinyl fence and put up a split rail if you have to have a fence. Otherwise, I'd vote no fence at all if possible. But I do know condos, and oftentimes you want limited use access or whatever to the homeowners. So that kind of gives them a little bit jurisdiction. Other than that, I think this farmer's porch is fine.
Okay. Anything else, Joe?
No, how do we, do we have to make a motion, Rich, for this?
Yeah, you do. We have to have a motion so that we can have a good record of the vote on this, so he can go forward and we can close this out. So
yeah. The exact final look of it, though. I mean, I don't have that in front of me to say that that's like a documented how it's going to look, if you know what I mean.
But we provided a plan with dimensions too. So
yeah,
you put on.
There is a, yeah. If you want to, Stephanie, you can. I forget which one it's on, but the plans for the deck. Excuse me, the porch. It might be separate, I think, right? Yeah, there it is. Is this the updated one with the dimensions on it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So
how deep is the porch now?
4 feet.
And where's the slider? I see someone's moving the cursor. That's the slider?
Yep.
Okay. And what's that? That's a full deck, a little further up. That's a deck. How big is that deck?
There, the total is like 8 by 11, just about 8 by 10.
And the look and feel of a farmer's porch will go that entire length, right? From
Yes, it travels a total of just under 30 feet, like 28 feet.
right. And how many posts would be going up and down? I see 1, 2, 3, 4.
I believe I'm gonna need. I think I need to split that one in the middle. So it'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Just about 6.
Between the a little further back, down to the south of the drawing here. No, down the other way. Should there be another post in here somewhere? I guess it would be
Yeah,
from the slider, though.
that's why I have one. I have one missing there. It
All
would,
right.
the one in the middle. The computer just drew,
Yeah.
a set number of posts, and
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think the uniformity of the posts, plus there'll be a rail, that would be more farmers.
there's a code for that. We have to go every I think it's like 7.5 feet or so. So and we balance that. We kind of spread that out even throughout the different sections of the deck.
Is there a date on that plan? Do we? by chance?
No, this is just as a reference.
Yeah. So you might need, you got to tweak it based on the code, right? Looks like, sounds like. So maybe you can get the updated. So you vote would be just for this farmer's porch as depicted, and let's just get the updated plan that will go into the building department for the permit.
The plan would show the roof over the porch and everything, right?
Yep, as the final plan. And then so I have to date to be determined, but I can,
But
It would be a 4 foot by 36 foot farmer's porch. So if you wanted to clarify, you could say something like, except a 4 foot by 36 foot farmer's porch on the side of.
Just to avoid confusions, if we go with this plan, with those dimensions, just to avoid any confusion, where is the 4 feet? Because in some sections, it's more than 4 feet. In some sections, it's less.
yeah, no, I wouldn't, I would go by that plan. You're right.
Okay. Yeah.
If you went 4 feet from the slider and then it was a straight parallel line. I don't
Right.
know how you define it, but
I mean,
I guess the vote, if we had something along the lines where the vote be subject to this plan to be updated to make sure it meets building code. With I don't know, does it have the roof? Another sheet that has the roof on it? No, maybe not, huh? Well,
There is not.
no, it's not. All right. So why don't we make it subject to the final plan, which includes this farmer's porch as depicted, plus the roof, and including, no fence. Well, let me back up, sorry. Except the fence may be a split rail fence, but no solid stockade fence of any type in front of the farmer's porch. A distance that, whatever your exclusive area is, I guess. I don't know what, that's not dimensioned there, that brown line, is it? Do you know what that dimension is? Owen or Bishop?
Which one?
The fence, the proposed exclusive area? Yeah.
So the distance off of the farmer's porch would be 12 feet. So I think that whole distance is 16 feet from the end.
Okay. So why don't we, you could just update that plan with that dimension too, so we can.
Sure.
So that way, when we're done, when you're all done in the end, we got to come back. We got to look at the original site plan approval plus this modification to get a final sign off. Well, not us, you, on the project, so we can incorporate it into the record. I know it's a little long-winded, Joe. Could you fashion a motion based on all that?
yeah. And the only reason I'm willing to go ahead and make a motion, is that it's if my board members agree that, we want to help this move forward, but I think we all agree that it has to look like a farmer's porch, and that, we want to make sure that that's the result here.
Absolutely.
Right. So let me try this. I do make a motion that we accept based on the plans that's being shown tonight, still to be finalized, that will show the 36 foot long porch that varies from 4 feet in depth to the depth of the deck of being 16 feet, if I'm correct? Was it
8 feet. I think.
8 feet? Okay, so yeah, so the deck is 8 feet. All right, so for that we accept based on the plans we see tonight, a porch that is 36 feet in length and 8 feet in depth, I don't know, on one end from 4 feet depth in depth on the on one end to 8 feet depth on the other end. With a, what was the name of what was the type of fence we were talking about?
Split rail.
A split with the split rail fence to be delineated as shown in the fence line on this drawing. Make a motion that we approve that could be the solution.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Do we need a roll call on that? Tim
Yes, we
Martin,
do.
aye.
Joe Sebastiano,
Aye.
Josie Kordahi,
Aye.
David Axberg.
Aye.
That's 4 unanimous.
All right. Yeah. And Rich, we'll get a final plan here, right?
Yes. Yep. We'll put together that final vote for you.
Okay.
And we'll get the plan updated that will reflect this vote from Fisher or Owen, either or.
Yeah, get it dated and
record.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, so that's probably a good segue to our next topic. Is Ariel and Tom?
Okay, our next. I think we have a modification on the enclave.
Yes. So I'll tee it up, and then I know Tom, I see him on here, and Ariel have to chime in. So so building permits went into the building department for Avery Way or Street, I can't remember. Way, sorry. Avery Way. And upon some review of the plans through the building department, the units show a screened-in porch to the rear of the unit. And so the building department brought it to Mr. DePlasto's attention, as well as myself, looked at the architectural plans, compared that with the approved site plan. And the site plan shows a patio. It doesn't show a screened-in porch. Now, the discussion was that from Mr. DePlasto's point of view, that through the permitting process and representation, that he more likely would probably potentially see screen porches for the different units, and to help try to customize each of the units, the homes, for potential clients who want to purchase them in there. And so from the discussion, we said, well, I understand that, but we want to clean it up in terms of to allow for that to happen for you, for flexibility. But we need to have the board make a motion to change the comprehensive permit in an insubstantial fashion to be able to make those customizations as we go along, or he goes along, excuse me, and Ariel go along, dealing with the customer set. There aren't any issues. So essentially, it kind of pivots off what we just talked about, which then, not for tonight, but we will be revisiting the same topic, excuse me, for Abbeville, which is now, oh boy. The new
Wade's
name?
Crossing.
Thank you, sorry. Wade's Crossing, and I know Bisher and is interested and appears to be like he's going to be buying Lakeland Hills. Similarly, because both of those permits don't have any conditions relative to this, I'll call it, issue is probably not the right word, but to be able to allow for some customization as, you want to have some flexibility. You are designing and building a home for some future homeowners. But then in keeping with the spirit and intent of the architectural design for the project. So along those lines, not exactly along those lines, but pretty much. That's why he's before you tonight. We discussed with Dan Hill last week. There is a proposed modification vote for the board to allow for one, to rule this as an insubstantial change. There's certainly, there are standards for which, a comprehensive permit can be modified by a vote of the board without a hearing. And this certainly falls within that category. And then there's condition 1 and 2 to allow for that flexibility as they go forward as they're building out the enclave. And one other thing I will note that I think it's probably, for you to think about going forward is to what extent, if you will, you want to drill down onto the architectural design elements of these different homes. Now, this is not exactly the same situation as the last one, because that one was really more geared to a specific situation, the look as it fronted onto Cleveland Street. But I could see whereby, it could, kind of spill over into this area. So what I'm hoping is that if somebody wants to, change a front facade, that they could change it and not have to go back before the ZBA. And I think that's what certainly I know Mr. DePlacido and the other developers are like. So we need to kind of work in between that. But it's a long-winded roundabout to tell you that he's here, which is actually on the screen if you have any, to discuss it further. That, by the way, just one more point and I'll pause. So the discussion was fundamentally the screen porch being a structure, and one of the, it's just kind of periphery information, but there's a provision in the permit where you can't have other structures or no additional units. And as lay people, and even as a planner point of view, I certainly didn't view a screened-in porch as a structure because it was attached to an existing, home. But yet the building department, and I understand their point of view, didn't see it that way. So hence we're here. So hopefully we can get through this insubstantial change, give some flexibility for the enclave, and then move forward. And he's got some permits pending on this. So they're not ready to be issued until we can square this issue away. I'll throw it over.
If the pastor would like to address us, that'd be wonderful.
Yeah, so Tom, do you want to add in whatever I missed?
Oh, he's muted.
He's muted, yeah.
Muted.
Sorry about that. For the record, Tom DePlacido, and I appreciate the board's time tonight to hear this out. And just to go back just for a few minutes, I thought, or my feeling was in the hearing process when this was decided, we did discuss being able to modify and do some different characteristics to customize some of these homes for the people moving in. I mean, this is a little different. It's not a condominium. These are on single family house lots, and the people moving in may want a screened porch, a bigger deck. And we actually contemplated that in the hearing process by allowing up to 5,500 square feet of building footprint. And that's right in the decision. But I understand that, there was, that just dot the I's, cross the T's, and wanted to make sure that everything was addressed. And in this case here, we're trying to enhance the buildings and things. We're trying to customize them. We want some individuality. We want some customization. We want, people to have a nice backyard and things like that. We're not looking to make any structural changes to the front. They all have porches on the front. But a homeowner deserves some customization and individuality when they go out in their backyard. If they want a deck, or they want a patio, or they want a screened porch or a sunroom. And these are the types of things that we were trying to address when we went through the hearing process. And I guess it just wasn't clear enough in the decision. So we're back before you here tonight, just to allow us to still stay within the parameters of the decision. We're not looking to exceed 5,500 square feet per structure, or 2,750 square feet per unit. But we're basically, want to clarify that so that we can customize these for our customers. We have, a few sold that are up there. They want sunrooms or screened porches, and it's critical that we do this, and it adds value and to the community, to the neighborhood. And furthermore, I mean, like I said, these are even though they're a duplex style, they're still a 0 lot line single family house on their own individual lot. And if this was a single family residential neighborhood, you'd have that same ability that if you wanted to put a screen porch or a deck on your house, that you could. And I don't think this neighborhood should be, have any less ability to do that with things. That being said, that's why we're here, just to clarify this decision. We, it's an insignificant, it's an insubstantial change, and we'd hope to have the board's support on this.
So you on the modification in front of us, there's no change in square foot to the units, exclusive of patios. No structural changes to the front elevation. No increase in height or number of stories. I guess the question I just have for Rich is, I'm certainly not opposed to this in concept. I'm just trying to tighten it up so we don't have an issue going forward. It says the applicant may deviate from architectural plans. And then you try to narrow it. Rich, do you feel comfortable that we're just not opening it up too much? Or is there enough limits here in this way that this proposal is drafted? It just says the applicant may deviate from the architectural plans, and then it has the limiting items that I just highlighted, and Mr. DePlacido also did. I understand where he's going with it. Personally, I have no problem with it. I like the concept. I like the idea. I just want to find the right methodology for us to get there, if the board agrees.
Yeah.
So a couple of things. There is, and actually we don't have the waiver up that page for dimensionally, but the 5,500 square feet is the size for both homes together.
Correct.
And so the ability to really add that much more is limited to a degree, because you're self-limiting it. Yeah, so kind of, I mean, I don't, so, being more involved with the enclave than the other one, which obviously is a slippery slope, but in terms of, there wasn't the specifics as far as the expectation, I don't think, from the neighbors that abut it. But I'm hoping this is sufficient. I don't want to, it's kind of try to strike that sweet spot where we're not micromanaging it, but also,
right,
not going too far.
It leads me to ask, is this something that, like, would, let's say, Dan Hill help us properly word here?
Well, he did. So
He did this?
Yeah, he did. So what I should have said this in the beginning to you, but so what we did last week, I had a conference call with Bob Bullock, Jonathan Ackley, Bob Commissioner Jonathan, the Assistant Commissioner, Dan Hill, myself, and then Tom DePlacido to kind of talk through. So we talked through how the building department looked at the permit, and then in relation to what was filed with the building department, and they brought to the attention to me originally they had concern with the port, well, the screen and porch being added. So then we had that discussion with Tom about, what was trying to be accomplished, create some flexibility. So we had a Zoom call to come up with this language, which tries to kind of provide both, right? There's some balance, some rails to it, but not micromanage, if you will, every unit from an architectural design. So he thought this was fair and reasonable, which the building department, they did write a letter, and I think, well, you do have a letter from them as well. I think we came down as this being reasonable. I think we sure hope so. I don't have a.
Could you go back to the previous slide with the proposed modification? I just want to ask Mr. DePlacido if I just may want to add language that it may not be correct, but if we, under paragraph 1, if it said the residential structures constructed by the applicant may deviate from the architectural plans so as to allow for screened porches off the back of the unit, would that be too limiting? Are there other additions that Tom's looking to change? I don't want to micromanage the project, but it seemed like screen porches was what kind of got this thing to our level, because Mr. Bullock didn't feel comfortable with it. But I'm also hearing from Mr. DePlacido, and there may be some other changes.
Yeah.
And if we could put him in there, let's open it up to what is on his mind.
Yeah. Thank you for asking. Actually, the way it's written, actually, I think is self-limiting enough. Like Mr. McCarthy said, we can't go any more than the 5,500 square feet with the combined building. We're also limited to the side yard setbacks on the side. The buildings are joined together with 0 lot line, so we can't change that lot line. And then we agreed not to change the front at all with any structural changes. So really, the only thing that's left is the back that can happen with it. And in that area, and thanks, Mr. Chairman, yes, we have people that want to do sunroom, screen porches, decks, bump out for like a bay window or a boxed out window. There's a lot of customization that, and we're dealing with a unique buyer too, because they've lived in 3 or 4 homes. They know what they like. They know what they want to move to. They're looking for this to be their last home, and they really have what they want in their mind, and they're trying to achieve it here. And we're trying to work towards that, that goal with them.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not particularly trying to thread a needle here. I appreciate the comment. I can see where you'd have multiple people coming in with kind of different lifestyle goals here, and they are limited to where that could occur on these changes. So,
is there an amount of bedrooms that are allowed under this? Such as they can only be 2-bedroom units or anything of that sort?
Yeah, they're actually age restricted units, so you can't have any more than you can't have any children or anything like that. You could have excuse me, you could have additional rooms. They're pretty much limited to 2 bedrooms by the architectural design. If we came back with 3 bedrooms or something like that, that's getting beyond that. But I do want to say there are walkout basements in a lot of these lot locations, and people sometimes like to finish a basement. So if a grandchildren do come over to visit or something, they have a play area for them and stuff as well. So there is the possibility for additional space in the basement.
Yeah, that's my, I don't know about the architectural plans, deviate from the architectural plans. That could be all of a sudden there's a 3rd bedroom or something of that sort because they have a grown adult that needs to live with them or something. And that just added more people to the community.
I mean, the decision, the original comprehensive permit doesn't prohibit bedroom count, but the age restriction definitely does prohibit the ages of people living there and the impact that may have on a school system or something else.
Well, in the septic system would limit it to a degree.
If if we start getting, a substantial amount of rooms, then, yeah, I mean, the room count will impact the septic system, and that'll have to be increased as well.
Going along the lines of David's question, this is not about adding another room to the house in any fashion. This is about having, like you said, a bump out, a screen porch, a sunroom, right? That's what we're talking about, right?
I'm not looking to add bedrooms and things, but I just didn't want to be stopped from doing a finished basement. Because a lot of times people like to have that for their grandchildren and things. Or they like actually, rooms that they have, that they go downstairs. Some people, they do sewing, they do crochet, they want a separate area for that. They like, we have a lot of people that toy trains and things. There's a lot of hobbies that people have that they use their time with, that they want finished rooms in the basement for. So especially if it's a walkout basement. So that's something that's very common. So I just wouldn't want to be prohibited from something like that.
So I go back to Rich and,
That's inside, I guess, to clarify. So that's, I'll call it within the box, so to speak, right? So that's like, there are basements in these units. So if they finish the basement for whatever the uses that were just mentioned, with the exception of the bedroom, because the septic system is designed based on a specific bedroom count. So what would happen, and I shouldn't say happen. What does happen, the checks and balances, when it comes in for a permit, it goes over to the Board of Health. They review what the septic system approval was for the project and match it up from the bedroom count. So we have had situations where we've had to make sure that, it didn't morph into a bedroom count as far as the design of the house goes. This change is really just about the structural change adding onto the back of it. So it's got the typical, this has the footprint of the house units as they are in the plan, but just to add essentially to the rear of it, actually, for if they wanted to add that or a bump out to be able to do those changes to the structure, because they are capped out at 5,500 square feet. So I think the ones right now they're pretty close, I think, Tom, isn't that right? I think we looked at, there's not much wiggle room there, so.
Yeah, there really isn't. There's only a couple of hundred square feet. It's not like we can do something significant. I will say that there's some opportunities that people have wanted to do right off the eating area. There's some lots that have some significant areas of side yard setback, and they want to do like a little patio or something off the side kitchen eating area. So there is some, like I said, once again, we're trying to customize these and make them look nice. And we're not looking for any difference in waivers or setbacks or anything like that. We're looking to comply to the comprehensive permit. We're just trying to tweak these things so that we customize them for the people that are moving into the neighborhood.
But Tom, would it be fair to say that the request is for like leisure or living space and not bedrooms?
Yeah, I would say so. Mm-hmm.
I mean, is there a belt and suspenders that you want to include that in the language?
I was just going to make it simple. The residential structures constructed may deviate from the architectural plans so long as there is no increase in bedrooms. I mean, and then just keep the rest of the language that was already drafted by Attorney Hill, provided that, I think, just limited to that. I think that's what I heard from some of the board members. Just it was questions about bedrooms, and Tom has no intention to add bedrooms apparently. It's more of a living leisure space type. The quality of life for these folks that want to be there, they want to make it their own.
Yeah, I like where you're going with it, Tim.
So I think that would, I think Mr. DePlacido is comfortable with that.
Is that?
Josie, did you have any thoughts on this?
No, I agree with that too. I think it's reasonable. People are paying a premium to be there, and
Yeah,
and I can understand completely. They may want to have a leisure room or a room to entertain their grandchildren, and And it's still, as far as my understanding, they're still maintaining the same footprint. So yes.
Yep. Thank you.
So does any wording need to be changed here, Tim?
So what I would recommend is we took the quotes there, the residential structures constructed by the applicant may deviate from the architectural plans so long as no bedrooms are added, comma. And then just continue on, provided that there shall be no structural, the other language. Just insert that.
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
I agree with Josie. These people are gonna, Tom's gonna want to build a nice spot for them and they're gonna want to enjoy it. And that's what it's all about.
Yeah. That seems reasonable. Is that everybody prior to a vote agree with that change?
Yeah, well, this is Joe. I like that change. Yes.
Okay. So somebody, if you're comfortable, if you don't need, if you're comfortable with the vote, then somebody wanted to make a motion to that effect as amended.
Right. Can I say this document? Can I refer to this document as amended? All right. So I make a motion that we approve the modification of the comprehensive permit as presented and amended for the enclave.
Any
more reference?
Oh, I'm sorry, Joe.
No, I said, do you need any reference to that? Is that enough of a motion?
Just include in the motion that it's an insubstantial change.
Okay. Right. So I'll make a motion that we approve the modification of the comprehensive permit for the enclave for the unsubstantial change.
Insubstantial?
Insubstantial change.
Yeah. With the two conditions as amended.
With the two conditions as amended. Is there a reference number here? Is it 2017-69?
Yeah,
what's that number?
09,
2017-09.
Yes.
Any further discussion? I think we need a roll call vote.
Tim Martin,
Aye.
Joe Sebastiano,
Aye.
Josie Kordahi,
Aye.
and David Axberg.
Aye.
That's 4 unanimous.
Great. Thank you. All right.
Thank you. I appreciate the board's time tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Tom.
Tom.
All right. Everyone have a good night.
You too.
Take care.
Are you up for deliberations tonight? So what's the?
Oh boy. Could we at least get a little health break?
Sure.
I just want to say that my connection has been, I've been keep getting pop-up messages saying that it's been very unstable. So.
Okay.
It sounds okay right now. It sounds okay right now.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So Tim, what do you think? 5 minutes?
Yeah, why don't we take a 5-minute break? Everyone's at home. They can get a drink, use the bathroom, whatever, stretch, and we'll come back in 5 minutes.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Okay. So we go to the application. Yeah.
Is everybody back?
Yeah, we're back.
Looks like the only person we're missing is Josie.
Probably still walking the dog.
So Stephanie, if you want to pull, we're going to start with, well, what's that one? That's, oh yeah, okay. All right.
This is 4 Oak Road.
Yeah, see how they did filling out the appendix. It can help with the answers.
Do we want to start with a finding of facts?
Yeah, once she gets back. So we talked about in the office, maybe we look for and I think we still might do this, get almost like a sample kind of thing so people could have an idea how to answer these questions. And as a better guide, because I think, for people who don't do this on a regular basis, sometimes it's kind of hard to come up how to answer these questions. So for example, the first one, right? I probably would, just talking out loud, say that, it's a single family home that's being raised and replaced with a single family home with, similar size and architecture within the surrounding neighborhood, something along those lines.
Right.
As opposed to just say it's what's written, right? I think we're gonna try to do that because, between reviewing these and see some of the answers and then talking to people over the phone, like how do you go about answering these questions? I think, we'll probably have to spend a little bit of time, but I think it'll pay off. So that's something that I'll work with Stephanie on so we can kind of try to put together.
Okay, good.
Because that way it'll just kind of, maybe it'll just, get them thinking how to answer these questions.
Yeah, it's difficult when someone looks at it and says, what's the intent of the bylaw?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I get it. I mean, like, this is all. So Josie's there.
Great.
So, yeah, so finding of facts.
So we can't hear you.
Oh,
I'm sorry, I'm muted. Yeah, so the first one is obviously the location of the property that's being applied for here. It's the 4 Oak Road. That's one of the finding of facts, its location.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
He's replacing it with a 2-story dwelling, right? So he's doing a demolition and reconstruction of a non-conforming structure, not to exceed the existing non-conforming setbacks.
Single family home.
Single family home, right? So I got that. And he's building a 2-story structure. The height will not exceed, he wrote that the height would be 19 feet total.
So if you want to get a little bit of wiggle room there, the height won't be greater than what's allowed
By the bylaw, which I
Yeah.
put in the last decision.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just,
Okay. Yeah, got it.
So I guess the only slight edification I would say, it's not really a reconstruction, right? It's a raising in a brand new home.
It's a modular unit.
Well, that's true. Yeah. So that's probably, that would be good to add to it,
So
actually.
it's much more detail. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, so the new construction is a modular home, correct?
Yep. Yes. Yep.
So Rich, does the raising of the home automatically not, because I've always heard in the past that people have had to keep part of the original structure in order to keep it still part of the non-conforming. As soon as you raise the home, now the lot is back to a non-conforming lot, but you can't build on it now because it's under the 55,000 square foot.
So in this case, it's a voluntary, demolishing and reconstructing, but the house is going to be, it's not going to be any greater than the existing house as far as the setbacks go. So it's not increasing it at all.
I mean, David asked a good question. I mean, was there any part of the original structure that needs to be remaining in place, foundation wise or otherwise?
Not in this case, no. If you look, I don't know if you want to, the only way I could tell you is probably read it. If we read the section of the bylaw, I could read it to you if you want to.
Yeah, it'd be good to just quickly review that, yes.
Sure. So, all right, so let me read it. And so this is section F3C of the zoning bylaws. It says a non-conforming, actually, no, not F, the wrong one. Sorry, that's the next one.
Oh, it's unstable. The connection's unstable. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can hear you. My apologies. So that's the next one, F5, F3C. So F5B.
Got
So
it.
demolition reconstruction. If demolition of a non-conforming structure used for a single or two-family residential purpose, its reconstruction does not violate the setback coverage or height requirements of section E1B, So E1B is where we have all the dimensional requirements.
Setbacks.
Setbacks of the structure may be demolished and reconstructed as a matter of right. Or if the demolition of a non-conforming structure used for a single-family home for residential purposes and its reconstruction does violate the
I
setback.
can't hear you. Can you hear me? Oh,
You can't hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay.
now I can. I'm going back and forth here. Okay.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'll reread that second paragraph. Just, oh, you got the bylaw? Ah,
Yeah. Yeah, but it sounds like you've covered that it can be.
It's F4B paragraph 2.
Right.
yeah, so if you go to paragraph 2 and F4B, I don't have to read, if Stephanie will put it up on the screen, you can read through it, but that's what they're doing in this particular instance.
Right. Yeah, they just would not be allowed to demolish the original structure and build something that's more non-conforming than the original structure.
Correct.
Okay.
Right. Yep, that's exactly it. So,
Okay, yeah, so it apparently covers that. I think it answers your question, David.
Yep, that answers my question. I was always under the impression of the first one, the so you have to now meet the setbacks of the original, of what that zone is. But if it's non-conforming and it doesn't, because the setbacks in those, if I remember correctly, are probably 30 feet from off the front lines. So
yeah, you're right. Yeah. It's only 30 feet and the setback is 50. So yes.
yeah, so it wouldn't meet those criteria, but where it says it's not making it worse than what the original structure was, I agree. This is fine.
Right.
Yeah, David, I think you're correct when you were suggested early on that it was kind of the old rule where if you had to leave a wall or a stick up, that's how you kept those original setbacks. Yeah, that was more historic, and I think at least Norfolk's migrated to this bylaw, so I know where you're coming from.
Yep.
Yeah, good point, Tim, actually. So Norfolk's has,
which I'm glad.
yeah, has a little bit better language to that effect, so you don't have to go through that gyration.
Yeah. I will add to the finding of facts, though, that he mentions that of some of the setbacks, like the rear, he was saying there was the rear, it was the front slight improvement. It was 17. It was 17.9. It's going to be 18 now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he improved them by a foot.
Very small amount, I know, but I'll make a mention of that just as he presented. It's in the table of the setbacks that's in the drawings.
Sounds good.
Yep.
Yeah, right. And then we know the property is only 8,000 square feet, by the way.
Right.
There's not much more that we know. There were how many letters of support, Tim? There were 2.
Say that again, Joe.
2 letters of support, right?
There were 2 letters of support. Yeah.
Yeah, and I have copies. I can see them in the package. I can see them in the package.
Yeah.
I also
there was no opposition.
No abutters were present or in opposition. Right?
Correct.
Okay. I think that covers it.
Yeah, I think what I would add, I think, relative to number 3 is that, as he mentioned, it's going to remain as a 2-bedroom unit, and that he does have some requirements he does need to meet from the Board of Health. If I recall, was upgrading the tank, I think he mentioned.
Yeah, he did say that. Yes, for the Board of Health, he needed to do an upgrade to the septic tank.
Yeah, and it will remain a 2-bedroom.
Yep.
Home.
I also I know modular construction has come a long way. Does modular construction still come with its own set of regulations?
I just think that I don't think. Well, I mean, they have to follow the state building code. So beyond that, I don't think there's anything beyond that.
There's like there should be a list of approved vendors. For ones that are, have AAA ratings that the town recommends they do business with. I don't know, but I know that modular homes have come a long way from what they used to be. So,
you know where you might see that? That's a good point. You might see that in a planned community or planned subdivision where they're all modular and they say you can pick from this, but I haven't seen it at the town level yet. But
No, so
see your point.
So in our, as far as how far we would go as a town, we just want to make sure that, it meets all the state building codes as it relates to, electrics and all state codes. We can't get into,
Preferred vendors.
Yeah, vendors, that we can't do, but.
I know that they have, I'm just saying that they have to be fully licensed and.
Oh, yeah, yes. Oh, yeah.
approved for- Yeah, because modular, okay. Also, the septic, I know there's the Title V, but the passing of hands and with new construction, how does that affect here? Are we going, he's going to be doing a whole new septic, are we keeping it, or?
So he's keeping the septic system, but he has to upgrade the
Tank.
the tank.
The tank, okay. So,
Yeah.
okay.
So if you want to generally say, condition it with the conditions of the Board of Health, we can then just incorporate
Okay.
that by reference.
Yeah, I'll add one of the conditions will be the Board of Health. How would I word that then?
So one of the, as you get to the conditions, I would just say, the septic system requirements for the Board of Health permit is hereby incorporated by reference.
Must read, current Board of Health requirements for health and safety,
Yeah, we can. You put it on paper, we can massage a little bit.
Yeah, I'll draft it up and we'll make sure it gets corrected or gets fine tuned.
Yeah, and if we'll check with the Board of Health. Like they may already have a date on the approval or anything. If we have that, we'll just we'll incorporate that into the decision.
Yeah. Yeah. Otherwise, the only conditions I'll be putting on this are going to be, in addition to that septic one, will be that the usual. We just say construction materials need to be removed within 30 days, and no lighting should be, emanating on the neighboring properties from this property.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So we got to go over the criteria then.
Do you have, just to back up, Joe, do you have to limit the hours of work, or is that just a bylaw that we don't have to specifically cite?
I think the town bylaw overrides that, I think. Am I right, Rich?
Yeah. I mean,
Good.
So yeah, it is a town bylaw. It has to adhere to it. I do say, in some of the planning board decisions, they do reference it if you want to. I mean, you certainly can. I mean, it's just referencing back what's already on the books.
Right. It's already there.
Yeah. So
I think we've done that. I know we've done that before in some larger projects that are more commercial.
I'm not sure it's required here to do it, but
it hasn't been in any recent decisions I've done, not for like not for a homeowner like this.
It gets repetitive and redundant.
Yeah, I mean, they have to comply with it. So I mean,
right. Yeah. Okay. All right. So want to talk about the criteria?
Sure.
It's on the screen now. I mean, I know we want to improve this, as you were saying earlier, Rich, but pretty much these are pretty much the standard answers we've gotten in this type of situation.
Yeah, I was just thinking forward. That's all.
Right, right. So do you want me to read what we have from the applicant to read into the record, or
Sure.
we haven't? All right. So the use must be in harmony with the general purpose and intent of the bylaw. The proposed new structure will not alter the harmony and intent of the bylaw. There's not much to say there.
Yeah.
The use in an appropriate location is not detrimental to the neighborhood and does not significantly alter the character of the zoning district. The use is in a residential neighborhood and abuts other two-story homes. It is not detrimental and will not alter the character of the zoning district. It's pretty straightforward. 3, the adequate and appropriate facilities will be provided for the proper operation of the proposed use. And yes, adequate and appropriate facilities will be provided for the proper operations of the proposed use. First, obviously for the single family dwelling. 4, the proposed use will not be detrimental or offensive to the adjoining zoning districts and neighboring properties due to effects of lighting, odors, smoke, noise, sewage, refuse materials, visual other nuisances. The proposed use will have no detrimental effects. 5, the proposed use will not cause undue traffic congestion in the immediate area. The proposed use will not increase traffic congestion. And just let me scroll down a little bit. A proper site plan has been filed for approval with the planning board, and the proper number of copies submitted with the application for a special permit special permit, excuse me, to the Board of Appeals and requested special permit. So 12 copies of the plans were submitted. The use or purpose is consistent with the 1992 master plan and its most recent update. The use and purpose is consistent with the most recent master plan. Right. But yeah, I look forward to any improvements you can get from the initial applications of these answers.
Yeah, well, we'll come up with, like I said, a template where they can kind of fill it in a little bit, have a little more complete answer to that question.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that covers everything from finding of facts, the criteria. We mentioned the conditions already, the 3 with the septic requirements being in meeting the Board of Health requirements. I mentioned the refuge material being removed within 30 days and no lighting from the new structure will be emulating on the other properties. So that's enough for us to write this up.
Yeah.
Want to move on to the other one, 176?
We need a vote on that.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. I'm sorry. Yes. Let's have a.
So we'll need a motion.
Yes. I make a motion that we approve. 1 second. Make a motion that we approve the application for a special permit for 4 Oak Street for Kevin Mackin to allow for the demolition and reconstruction of a new modular home and decks in the same footprint, which does violate the 25-foot setback of section E1B, but does not violate those requirements to a greater extent than the original structure. Property is located at 4 Oak Road, Assessors Map 12, Block 62, Lot 94 in the R3 zoning district.
Any more discussion? Any further discussion? Roll call vote.
I had just one question. It just came to my mind now. Is the purpose of this for resale, for profit, or is this for their own personal use?
I don't think it came up during the hearing.
Yeah, that wasn't asked.
Because I see that he's part of the applicant's part of an LLC. So
Yeah.
I was just wondering, that's all.
Yeah, we didn't ask that question, Josie.
Don't know.
I mean, it's clear that he's building a single family dwelling, 2-story single family dwelling.
I think we're asking more from a curiosity standpoint. It's not that it alters the
It
findings.
shouldn't alter that, yeah.
No. Okay, it won't be a finding that we have for this one, but obviously that's a good question, Josie. We should be asking that when we see that.
Usually when people ask for special permits, I like to know what the intent is.
Mhm.
Because it's just not, it's not a matter of right. And he's fortunate to have Butters on board, but sometimes I like to know the backstory. So.
Mhm.
Sure.
No,
Yep.
I totally agree. All right, so I made the motion.
I think we'll need a roll call vote.
We need somebody to second.
Second, somebody that second it.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Now vote.
Roll call vote, Tim Martin,
Aye.
Yeah.
Or yes to grant.
Yes to
Joe-
grant. Yeah, Joe Sebastiano, yes to grant.
Josie Kordahi,
Yes to grant.
and David Axberg.
Yes to grant.
And that's 4 unanimous, yes to grant.
Okay.
So for the next one, I thought we'd probably peek back at the 2014 special permit to help, because it's,
Yeah, I may need some help crafting this one.
yeah,
Rich.
so we can see.
Bear with me.
Sure.
I thought I had it up, but I guess it's gone.
No worries.
Yeah, you didn't have that in the package, right? Not that old decision.
Correct. So what you see on the screen here is the decision from case number 2014-09. 09.
Yep. So if you want to just scroll. Yeah. Oh. Maybe go to page 1, please. So district remains the same.
I think on the findings, number 1, I think the currently it's 10 dogs,
Correct.
not
Yep.
8.
How come it says 8 then?
She originally applied, I think the application requested 8 and the board at that time allowed 10.
Yeah.
Okay.
If
I
you
think she might have had an 8 at the time, I believe. I'm not sure.
If you, Steph, you don't mind, just scroll down to the conditions. I think for David and all members, it has 10. Yeah, so seeing David in condition
Yep.
1.
Yep.
So they did condition to 10, just for clarification.
Now, when I asked her the question, I asked her what month she started. I asked that for a specific because this permit didn't come through until October, but she was in business already in February of 2014. I think she got caught. And she went for the permit after the fact.
Okay.
That
Oh.
that always rubs me the wrong way.
Okay. So what you're saying is that, all right, so she was operating, but didn't apply for the permit before she was operating?
That's correct. She was operating and got caught for operating in one sense and applied after the fact. And she applied a month before it went to town hearing that said it had to be a commercial. There was some sneakies going on, I think. Town meeting voted in November, the following month after this was approved, to say that you have to have 5 acres and a commercial property. She snuck this one through.
So what you see on the screen here is Puppy Paradise Home Dog Boarding from February of 2012.
Yeah, there you go.
So that's prior to 2014.
It was.
Okay.
Was it at that location though? This is just the LLC certificate of good standing, but.
Yeah, it doesn't have the.
I don't know. She told me, she said to us tonight that it was February of 14 that she started there.
Right, but she might have had this going elsewhere under that LLC. I don't know.
She might have, but she came to the property in February 2014 and started it there. So,
Okay.
but didn't get the permit until October. And that was a month before the town meeting said, you can't do this except for in commercial property and it has to be 5 acres.
Right.
I mean, those are 2. And now she wants more dogs. And I understand she could, I mean, because she's grandfathered, she can get them, but it's not a guaranteed.
So, yeah, I'm not necessarily, well, I guess I'll just ask the question this way. There's only 4 of you. I don't want to necessarily tip your hand per se, but if one of 4 of you were inclined to not vote for this, you would not get the special permit. And I'm not suggesting that you don't vote the way you want to. I just know that if one does vote no, she will, and that's fine. I mean, that's an outcome. I just.
Right. So this has to be a unanimous vote?
It does, because you don't have 5 members right now, so you need 4 for approval.
Yeah. It's not uncommon for someone who may be operating a business who doesn't have a permit, even though the bylaw exists that they should have a permit,
Yeah.
knowing that there might be a change in an upcoming, change to that bylaw, that they would try to get the permit in time. I know some people who didn't get the permit in time and they then were denied to do such a business later on. That's happened here.
Yeah, no,
No,
that's,
I can know of one operation that came before us. They kind of applied for it, but then the new rule was in place, so they couldn't do it at that point because they didn't apply for a permit before the bylaw had changed. So the dates do matter.
They do.
They do. No, I agree with you, David. Dates do matter.
Yep.
But obviously, she got her permit in time before the change. So that's why I was asking earlier for Rich's guidance on what the rules are here, because to then increase the dogs at this facility, it sounds like there is a rule in place. She's grandfathered and has this permit. We're allowed to possibly give her the approval to increase the dog count to what, to 15 again?
yeah, the 15.
Yeah,
I mean,
50%.
yeah, I mean, you're within the, within the bylaw scope to be able to do what you want to do. Now, there's some things that are being discussed that are, related to the original request as opposed to what's going on right now. So if that,
I understand David's point, but even if she was applying, even if she was operating without proper approval at that time, she did come before the board at that time and applied and had a public hearing.
Yeah,
was granted. And really what's more compelling to me, David's done some good thought processing, but is the, a 7-year history, not an easy business to manage dogs. And, Josie can testify to that. Her dog couldn't get in.
right.
But on
I know. Bella, I came in that day and she said, I'm sorry, but it doesn't look, but Bella barked the whole entire time you were out, and maybe this isn't the place for her. She was very nice about it.
And that for a business person to turn away, and it's more the 7-year history that I'm looking at. Point well taken, David. But I saw the extensive letter from Hillary Cohen, and I think Hillary's, a thorough person. And
Believe me, I love Hillary. Hillary and we have history, so.
Sure. So that was a compelling letter for me, and the fact that she has no opposition, and support from neighbors. That was a good. That was. It seems to me she runs a business that's not easy to run, and does very well serving the animals, and is very responsive to neighbor concerns and zoning, and whether she started without the permit or not, I understand, but.
I've been there myself. I've walked the property. This is a business that's not without oversight. Her yard is impeccable. I asked her, because I was going to put my dog there, what do you do with the waste? She has help. She has people that come and dispose of the waste. She has a couple of other, people that come and watch the dogs. There hasn't been a dog fight. Dogs fight. There hasn't been a dog fight. These are smaller dogs. Small dogs are yappy, and there's not many complaints. She has a good track record. I mean, ordinarily, I'm very cautious of special permits, but I think she has a good track record, and I would prefer to give a special permit or approve one to someone who has that than someone who doesn't. So.
And they made good point. There may have been a lesson learned back in 2014 when maybe she was, or maybe she wasn't operating with or without a permit for whatever reason, ignorance or whatever. But the point is, she applied today before extending beyond 10 dogs. Who's to say that she couldn't have operated with 15 dogs, and who would have known? But she came forward, went through a process, had a public hearing, not easy to do, got support, put it all out there for the board. We had an opportunity to ask questions, and we did. And, so maybe that I'm happy to see that people come forward when they learn of it that they're not afraid to come before the board and apply. So that was good, because how would we have known if she had 15 dogs?
It's a good point, David. I did have one question. Is this 15 dogs specifically for the boarding component of the business? Or is it for, or is it also incorporates the, the dog daycare?
I think it's just a total dogs on premises at one time.
Okay, so, and that it may not even be, I mean, it doesn't mean 15 dogs a day. She charges, I think, $35 a day. The people that come and drop off their dogs 3 days a week, some are 2 days a week. I was planning 3 days a week. They're not always sleeping over. There are vacation spurts. There are some people that leave them for a few days, some people that leave them for 1 day. So this isn't a 15 dogs a day, every day.
It could be, but may not be.
Yeah. It could be when needed. Maybe she's applying for 15 in case she gets to that. She
Right.
wants to be in compliance.
Maybe.
I'd just like to point out as well, what I was showing on the screen here, just in case members didn't have the opportunity to see it. We did receive, along with the butter letters, we did receive a number of positive online reviews from Ms. Gomes as well. So this is just a number of those comments being shown on your screen at this time.
Yeah, in the decision write-up, though, I don't necessarily have to refer to every single letter we get, but I can definitely refer to the fact that we've seen online reviews, right? We've have letters of support. We have Hillary's support, right?
You have the chief who was
Yeah,
comfortable.
Chief
with-
Stone, right? Yep.
Stephanie, do we have any history as to why the bylaw was changed to commercial and 5 acres?
I wouldn't know that off the top of my head. Rich, would you be able to speak to that?
I don't necessarily. I don't, unfortunately. I wasn't around.
It may have been because I was around, but I wasn't around for the bylaw change itself, meaning I wasn't involved with the bylaw change. It may have involved the fact that more commercial businesses were starting to pop up with doggy daycare. And that may have put, the need for us to be a little bit more, put some more barriers around this, if you know what I mean. Because the commercial ones were starting to appear. Our bylaw was allowing people to have more than so many dogs without these other limitations that you now see in the bylaw. Which makes a lot of sense.
I know there was one that tried to pop up across the street from me. And they were in existence for a while, but
Right,
they got.
That's the one I'm referring to.
Yeah,
That's the one where we had a hearing, but they didn't have a permit like this person has, like the Carol. And because they didn't have a permit by the time the bylaw changed, they were now subjected to the new bylaw. And that's why they couldn't do it.
Right.
Yeah, so I think that's right. You're right. I think that's in your neighborhood right there.
Yep.
I mean, if you want to, if so Stephanie has the zoning bylaws there. If you scroll up to the definition section, there was several changes that happened in 14, which includes, defining kennel, commercial kennel, boarding or training, commercial breeder kennel, kennel enclosure. So I suspect, it's something that kind of appeared on everybody's radar in town, and there was, just generally, concerned how it could happen in a negative way, and made some adjustments. And this, of course, by changing it to 5 acres, that's a big
jump.
That's a huge change. So,
Yeah, but that was
So I think
targeted.
that,
That was targeting that these were becoming commercial operations.
yeah, and that's what I'm saying. So it's kind of, and I think, when you look at the definition, it says commercial kennel, that probably, you have one mindset of what that might be, right? Potentially.
Mhm.
So, so she would be within that umbrella in terms of what she does, but it's really, well, like I said, it's more targeted and specific kind of client base, which is maybe not to generate the nuisance that people would initially be concerned with if there was a commercial kennel next door to them in a residential neighborhood. Which if you want to, keep the rails on it in terms of what she does, so it stays that way, you certainly could do that. I mean, I think she has her business operation plan, which you understand, and she has done. The permit, like the other one, would be the same conditions in terms of it goes with puppy, what is it? Puppy Paradise? What's the name again? I'm sorry.
Puppy Paradise.
Or something like that.
Yeah, we'll go with Puppy Paradise. No non-transferable. She sells the property, it extinguishes itself. So
Right,
it
yep.
wouldn't be tied, it's not going to be tied to the property. So she decides to sell the house and move or try to transfer it to somebody else. It goes away.
Yeah,
I think this is also accessory use. She's residing on the property with her business.
Right.
I mean, that's an owner occupied business. She's responsible for every aspect of that property, of that business.
Yep.
I mean, I've seen some kennels that are on Route 1. I mean, this is a chance for a business like this to be in town and for us to support a local business, within our laws.
Yeah, I agree. And we've also got another backstop, so to speak, that if there was ever chronic barking dogs out there, regardless of any special permit, there's another bylaw that may get more stringent at town meeting on barking dogs and fines and penalties. So Carol, who runs this operation, she has to earn her stripes every day with this thing to just keep the business operational as far as all that. So, we have a lot of safeguards, the permit, the bylaws, things like that. And to Josie's point, this is her livelihood. She lives there.
Yeah.
So, and it's great history and apparently a great service because of the uniqueness of it. It might be tough to place small dogs once in a while in a good safe spot or an older dog. I've had that issue. So she's doing a great service, I think, or offering great service.
yeah. She said the dogs are mostly on what was the pound she gave us?
The 35.
No, 15.
15. Yeah, I wrote 15.
Yeah.
So typically under 15 pounds.
Yes, they are small.
Yeah, I did want to ask.
Some of them are special need.
Yeah, I have that. So she takes care of the elderly dogs, right? The special needs, right?
Yes.
Now she said daycare. I wrote down daycare when she was presenting. She does do boarding here.
She does boarding here, but that's not the main. I'm of the opinion that that's not the main source of her business because she would tell me, well, I have one dog right now, but
Right.
when school vacation comes up, I have more. And then
Right.
there's Christmas time, but
Right.
she does have doggy daycare,
Right.
and
But-
she has, hours that are posted and then times for them to come. And
Right.
there's been no changes made to the others outside of her home. It's
Right.
very charming. She has everything fenced in. I mean, it's not taking over the neighborhood. When you go on Route 1 and Walpole and Rentham, you see these big boarding kennels, you see them right on Route 1. And you're just gonna, I want to be able to promote a business in town that benefits the town without, sending all our business elsewhere.
And I don't think there's even any sign. I drove by, I didn't see any signage. It was amazing. The property looked, very neat. And I was amazed. I hadn't been familiar with it until recently. And
I was going to ask for a
I
clarification.
think she does overnight, though. I mean,
Yeah.
it may not be the lion's share of business, but
Yes, yes.
Right. And that's why I wanted to bring that up, Rich.
yeah.
Under the bylaw that we're talking about that allows her to do this, was there any restrictions on overnights or it's just straight out total number of dogs?
Total number of dogs.
Right. So it doesn't say anything about boarding or anything in that particular. Like I said, I need to clarify that for myself.
Yeah, we don't.
Like the initial granting of the permit, the special permit she got for the 10 dogs in the beginning, was anything in that whole decision that mentions
Oh, you
boarding?
want me- let's see.
Yeah, it does say, I'm looking at it now, it says boarded dogs to 8. The owner has limited the number of boarded dogs to 8.
I'll point out that the name of the business is Puppy Paradise Home Dog Boarding LLC.
Okay,
If you scroll down, Steph, if you don't mind, see what I don't think there was any conditions
right,
restricted.
but when we got the conditions where we said 10, I just want to see back where it says 10. Does that still refer to boarding?
I think on the premises, so it's
Says the keeping of dogs.
keeping a
10
dog.
dogs at any one time.
Yeah. So I mean, theoretically, it could be 15 dogs there overnight.
Right.
I'm not sure that's feasible for her to do, but I mean, it's not limiting it.
Yeah.
You may have that situation on a rare occasion. I don't know, vacation times, I don't know, but
Yeah. So
Does this add more traffic to the neighborhood? It's a residential neighborhood. You have 5 more drop-offs and pickups in the afternoon than what's normal. I don't know if that makes a difference. There's more car traffic, more people traffic.
I was looking for her answer to that question.
She makes appointments. The way I want my interactions with her, it's not just drop off. You have to call and kind of make it set a time for you to stop by. The
So
pickup, I don't know.
unlike a school where everyone gets out at the same time, it may not be that, I don't know.
And she has a daily rate, not a weekly rate. It's quite costly overnight. I mean, I don't like if someone wants to keep them there for a while,
Yeah, well, her answering that it wouldn't cause any undue traffic. She says yes, meaning yes to that. It would not cause any undue traffic congestion. I guess it's the assessment that the difference in drop-off times and appointments, like Josie mentions, wouldn't cause any undue traffic increase here.
We don't have to get a crossing guard out front or anything because you got all the dogs.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's good about we're actually learning about some other questions we could have asked a little bit more of her, obviously. So it's good that we're discussing this in this fashion. Rich, when writing this up though, Rich, and again, depending on if everybody approves this, it gets written up either way, approved or not. But do I refer to the original decision?
No, it would be a new decision, but
Right, but the finding of fact would say that based on that earlier decision,
yeah,
he's eligible to increase it by 50%.
right. So it's a new decision, but it does have reference back to it because that's the original permit.
Right.
That's being expanded.
Yeah.
I mean,
go ahead.
If you, so an option could be, if you want, you could, maybe we could kind of give you a little bit more meat to this one if you want, and finish it up at the next meeting if you think, just to kind of narrow it for you. If
It would help me. I mean, I actually have a pretty busy schedule that I could get the other decision probably written up by next week. But
because
you want me to,
you have the meeting on the 19th. If you wanted us to try to, give you a little bit more meat on the bone, so to speak, and then you can deliberate it, finish it up on the 19th.
yeah,
That's
I'd like to do that. Tim, if you agree, I'd like to do it that way.
If that's the pleasure of the board, I'm not opposed to that. Josie, David, do you want to wrap it up tonight? Do you want to continue it so that Joe can catch his breath on writing something?
I mean,
I
think I could make a decision tonight if you want.
Do we want to vote it tonight? And I'm not going to put timeline on a drafting of the decision, but
it's for myself. I mean, I'm ready for tonight. But according to, for the board, then
if you
whatever
would
they
like to
want.
make a motion, that would be great. We can put it to a vote.
Rich, when would the decision have to be? If we approve it tonight, what would be the timeline for the decision?
You got plenty of time. You got 90 days from when you close the hearing, so you got
To write the decision?
Yeah.
Wow, I got more time than I thought.
Yeah. So time is not. Yeah. No. Yeah. So you have time. So if you want to vote it, we could
See if
work.
someone makes a motion and we'll vote it tonight if people, and then Joe can take time to
Right, that's okay. That'll
Decision.
work. That works for me.
And the applicant will at least know the decision.
All right. But once again, going over some of the finding of facts, we know the business that she has, the Puppy Paradise. We know she was there in 2014 when it started. We know she takes care of the small dogs under 15 pounds. She also takes care of like a lot of the elderly and special need dogs. Her kennel inspections have been all positive. She has letters of support from Hillary and others, right?
That's correct.
And we know about the online postings being positive.
The chief.
Yeah, I write that here. Letter of support from the Chief Stone.
Yeah.
Just double checking one more thing here.
The whole business.
Okay, I'll be referencing the fact that she can have a 50% increase based on the bylaw. And I think that covers it. I know some people in the hearing did speak up in positive support. So there was no negative support or abutters bringing up anything negative about this request. Okay. All right, yeah, I'll be able to do it.
Great.
Okay, so you want me to make the motion or somebody else want to make the motion?
Who
I'll
wants
make
to
it.
make a motion?
Anybody else want to practice making motions? No? Okay.
You're good at it, Joe.
I'm not that good at it, trust me. I make a motion that we approve the application for a special permit by Carol Gomes to allow the extension, excuse me, one second. The application is from Carol Gomes to allow the extension of existing non-conforming use under section F43C of Norfolk zoning bylaws. The applicant will increase the maximum capacity from 10 to 15 dogs, which constitute an extension of special case 2014-09 for the property located at 176 North Street, Norfolk, Assessors Map 19, Block 61, Lot 18, in the R3 zoning district.
Any further discussion?
The only, sorry.
Yeah, what did I miss?
It's just, it's 5.3C, not 5.4, that's all.
I'm sorry, it's 5.3C?
Yes.
Section.
I don't know if anyone,
Yeah, it's not, all right, when it's not,
F3.
it's F3C, isn't it?
F3C.
Yeah, what did I just say? I'm sorry.
5.
Sorry.
I thought I said F3C.
All right. That's probably, I'm sorry.
No further discussion? I guess
Give me a
it's
second.
roll call vote.
Need a
I
second?
second it.
Okay, great.
Roll call vote, Tim Martin,
Yes to grant?
Joe Sebastiano,
Yes to grant.
Josephine Kordahi,
Oh,
Her internet.
she's on.
I'm sorry, I got kicked off. I'm sorry.
We're voting. We're
Josie
voting.
Kordahi,
Yes. Yes.
and David Axberg.
Yes to grant.
Thank you. That is 4 unanimous to grant.
All right.
All right. What's on the agenda for the next meeting, by the way, before we close?
35 Pine?
You all right?
35 Pine.
Yes, we have 5 Lakeshore, we have 8 West Birch, and 35 Pine.
What are the other two again, besides 35 Pine? What are the applications again? I know one's a continuance, right?
Well, so just to give you a quick update before you close out tonight, with the resignations of the board members that occurred before, you end up not having enough members to be able to vote on those variances. So what we've done is requested both cases, 5 Lakeshore and then 8 West Birch Road to withdraw without prejudice, and we've re-advertised it so that all 4 of you can sit on the permit, because David is new. He wasn't on the previous one, so you'll have to rehash through essentially redo them so the 4 of you can vote on those.
5 Lake Shore, was that the one where we were talking about the driveway?
The garage, yeah, so the
Yeah.
garage and
Deck and all that.
and the
Yeah.
deck and they're adding the second story to the house
okay,
as
right.
well. And then 8 West Birch was the deck that was constructed next, right up against the property line without a building permit, as well as the request to put in a screened-in porch over the slab on the front of the house.
That's the one we visited, right?
You visited, yeah. So, when we get to the 19th and you open it up, I mean, maybe it might be worth another visit, potentially. We could talk about them for David, and well, actually, all 4 of you could do it together.
Right.
And you wouldn't be limited to a Saturday going forward. We're now in the better time of the year as far as timing goes, but we'll talk about it, think about it. You can think about it now, but
right.
Maybe it might be worth a site visit, because I think it probably would help at least for sure, West Birch Road, I think.
Right.
Anyway, so that's what you have.
Yeah, we clarified some of the things he doesn't have to apply for there. Am I correct? And that was that garage in front of the house type of thing? That the one we're talking about?
So the garage, and the layout, that's not, it's there, but it's not subject to this.
Okay, yeah, so it's more specific.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, but both of them, we're going to treat them like new hearings, both of them?
Both of them, yeah.
Okay, so, re-advertised and read them in fresh, okay.
Yep, re-advertise, re-notice,
Okay.
Notice in the paper, new notice to all the butters within butters within
Right.
300 feet.
Is
So,
35 Pine the only other 40B in front of us right now?
yeah, that's it.
All right, are there any other ones coming at us?
There's no new 40Bs, but you will be getting, the updated final plans for Wade's Crossing, which formerly is Abbeville.
Right.
And then Lakeland Hills is just about done with the Conservation Commission, I think.
Do I have to be removed from that one because I'm in a butter?
Yeah, you would, yes. Yep. Yeah.
But those are already approved 40Bs, right?
Yeah, they're already approved. But he still would have to recuse himself because
Right, no, understood. No, understood.
Yeah. But
Right.
yeah, you got to vote on the final, just endorse the final plan sets based on the permitting that went through the Conservation Commission.
And we can do that if we're just 3 versus 4?
Yeah, you only need 3 for a comprehensive permit.
Okay, got it. All right, no,
Just
thank you.
stresses the importance of everybody's attendance. I'd just like to add that there.
Yeah, we do need to get some more associate members though, I think, because we got to think of the future a little bit.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep.
I know that it is being advertised. Town administrator is advertising it. I believe they mentioned it at the select board meeting, and we have put requests forward to the administrator's office to continue to advertise this on the What's New section of the town's webpage. We are also continuing to advertise it on our webpage. And if anybody's out there listening tonight that would like to join the ZBA, please reach out to Rich McCarthy or Blythe Robinson.
Yeah, so you have, 2 vacancies as far as permanent members, one with a term that would expire in June of this year, and then Don's, I forget what his is, but it's quite a bit further out, and then you have 1 associate member. So the summation on that is we'll essentially hold off until you have more members before doing any reorganization.
Yeah, but I do thank you, Tim, though, for sitting in the chair for these.
Thank everybody for the support and
Thank you very much, Tim, and thank you very much to Stephanie and all of you. And
doing a great
welcome,
job.
David.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, welcome aboard, David.
All right, I think it's time to close the meeting.
Yep.
So I make a motion that we close the meeting for May 5th at, what time is it?
10:37.
10:37.
No discussion.
second that.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 That is 4 unanimous. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Have a nice night.
Right, thank you.
Night, everyone.